I see you added a Brian sticker on your bottle there.
I did. You
Nice.
like that?
That's very cool.
It's a little weird.
I hope somebody asks you about that one day. Like, what's that? It's me.
I hope somebody's like looking and they're like, is that you?
That's like a.
Did you make a sticker of
That's
yourself?
like a cuter kind of anime style
But
of
then
you.
if they look at it, they're gonna be like, what is this combination of things happening on this? I had to get a new water bottle because the cap, I finally just destroyed it. I dropped it too many times.
For Halloween, you could just dress as the sticker version of yourself.
That would be pretty fun.
Bring in an axe, spray paint the head red.
I don't have a red-headed axe, you know? I know
Not
that's
yet,
like
you don't. Bring in a
stereotypical-
log. Like, you could do that. You could be like, hey, look, I'm Sticker Brian for
This
Halloween.
would not be hard.
You need to get those socks.
I have a bandolier already, so that's good.
Yeah.
I don't have any socks with red on the top.
I'm sure you have that shirt, though.
I definitely have a shirt like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it fits anymore
Yeah.
because I'm a big boy.
Well,
Bigger boy than I used to be.
Sticker Brian's no diminutive fellow either.
Yeah.
He's got presence to him. He's
That's
carrying
right.
around a log.
I mean,
Little dudes just can't just sling a log like that.
there was a log. Oh, there was a joke around that somehow. I forgot. My kids had something about a log. Maybe it had to do with
Travel log.
travel log. That's what it was. Okay.
That was
Yep.
my joke.
That was your joke. That wasn't the
at
kids.
on the Pencast 100.
Yep. There you go. That's where that came from, right?
It is.
Wow.
That's okay.
I'm really on
That's
my game
okay.
today.
Well,
Should be a fun
I mean,
podcast.
to be more forgettable than me is quite a feat.
I'm trying every day.
Good job. It's
Just
impressive.
cramming more in there.
It's impressive.
All
All right, we're
right.
recording.
We are.
We've got levels,
Levels, Jerry.
and yeah,
Okay.
that is literally all we need for a successful pencast.
Well, we'll see what happens.
We've
over the next
continued
2
to
hours.
lower the bar, and yet people still listen. So,
Well, we'll see. We'll test that again today.
as we do every week.
Yep. Welcome everybody to episode number 122 of the Goulet Pencast, where fountain pens are still a thing. I'm Brian Goulet.
And I'm Drew Brown.
Drew looks like he's in pain over there. We're here from Goulet Pens to deliver this casual and informal, tangential and extraneous, superfluous, and extemporaneous fountain pen show, where we talk about what's going on at the Goulet Pen Company and our fountain pen lives. In today's show, we're going to be talking about pen brands that we wish would fill out more of their budget-friendly range, favorite pen show memories, what LAMY LX colors that we would like to see, if we have any Grail Nibs, not just pens, but nibs. What's the purpose of reverse writing with a nib, like for real? And you'll get to meet our customer care specialist, Ethan, because we'll keep the Meet the Team thing going, since y'all seem to love that. Anyway, we will kick it off with feedback.
Patrick wrote in this week and says, those new Wearing Goal inks are incredible. I haven't seen a red ink that has caught my eye as much as the Captain Hook has recently, and Drew's enjoyment and excitement for it is certainly pushing me to grab a bottle. Captain Hook is cool, y'all. It's a cool red ink.
It's a good one.
I'm super into it,
Yeah.
and I need to quickly, I was just telling Brian, I need to get rid of these holiday inks for my pens so I can ink one up. At least one pen needs to run out organically. I feel like I need to do that. I know it's an arbitrary rule, Brian,
It's such an arbitrary
but
rule.
I don't want to be wasteful. At least one needs to run out before I ink up all three. Like, I'll dump two, but I can't dump all three. One of them needs to show me signs of it being all right. Whatever.
You realize a converter holds like half a
I
milliliter
know.
of ink.
I know. I've been alternating very effectively. One of them hasn't run out yet.
You're talking about like drops, like
know.
literally drops.
I know.
And it's mostly water.
You're right. You're right. Okay, Captain Hook, here we come. All
Make
right.
it happen, man. Ride
Yes.
that excitement.
All right, we're gonna do it.
You won't regret it.
Arlene writes in to say that Sailor does indeed make Fude fountain pens. We talked last week about
Okay,
Fude versus
yeah.
Flex, and we said that they make the Hokuro with the Fude, but we don't know if they have like a standard Fude on their pen assortment. Apparently, they make one, and Arlene reminds us, as did a lot of our listeners, that it is called the Sailor Fude de Manin, and it is not available in the U.S.
It's like a specialty.
It's
nib.
one of those things you only see at Jet Pens, so that makes me think that it's a Japan
It's
only
a Japan thing, yeah, for sure.
So they say that they have two different versions, a 40-degree and a 55-degree angled nib, and the consensus is that they're great for drawing.
Steepness of Fude.
And they look like just kind of standard fountain pens. So
Interesting.
they're definitely out there. So if you can grab one, I think that's a great idea. They're all really affordable. I saw them from between like $15, $20.
This is different than what I'm thinking of, because we had the Holy Grail nib question.
Mm-hmm.
So I was researching some of the crazy Sailor nibs. They do have some like gold sailor Fude nibs.
No,
that are
these
like
are-
specialty
these are
grind
steel.
kind of things.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
I don't think I've ever used one of those.
I had never heard of it. Fude de Manin.
Sailor Fude. I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah. So thank you, Arlene, and to
Look at
everyone
Google autofilling.
who wrote
listening.
in and reminded me that, or didn't remind me, educated me.
Oh yeah,
So-
this is. Oh yeah, okay.
So, yeah,
it's
they're
like
out
in
there.
sub $20.
Yeah, definitely sub $20. So they're out there. Maybe we can grab one day. We'll see.
Interesting.
We'll ask for it, as always, and they'll probably say no. Brian, do you remember last week when I said that...
The first image that I see is somebody reverse writing with a
There we
Fude.
go.
With a Fude. It's like, how obscure can you get?
yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Last week I talked about how I always feel weird saying Aussie and not Aussie
Yes.
because I just don't feel like... I feel like I'm mocking
Yeah.
the
Because you're a
Aussie accent.
cultural poser, Drew.
That's what it feels like. However, I've been reminded that that's the normal way to say. But my pen friend Andrew, who is an attorney in Australia, fixed that for me.
So this is a full legal professional. What is that?
This is an official document
Get out of here.
granting me permission from a legal professional in Australia
Wow.
to say Aussie. So we've got so Andrew is a part of a pen club over in Queensland that is made up of all legal professionals. So attorneys and counselors and barristers and all that stuff. So and they call themselves the Inkturnies. So
That's clever.
this is the worshipful company of Inkturnies, which he told me is a play off of some other old school name.
Okay.
To whom all this presence may come, be it known that Drew Clayton Brown, that's me, of Henrico County, also Commonwealth of Virginia within the United States of America, on this day has been admitted as an honorary member of the Worshipful Company of Inkturnies
Wow.
and designated an apprentice Inkturnie,
Wow.
with all rights, privileges, and duties appertaining thereto, including the right to use the term Aussie, pronounced Aussie. He wrote that down there.
Ozzie. Yeah.
Yeah, so given under my hand at the Common Seal of Company of Brisbane at the State of Queensland, Commonwealth of Australia, this day of 26 January 2024. So this is by the Chief Penabling Officer of the Inkturnie Club. So
This does look rather official.
yeah, so this is going to go up in the office so that I can remind myself that I'm authorized to say Aussie.
That's right.
So from now on,
Doesn't get much more official than that.
no, Aussie Liquid Gold is the name of the ink now, no longer Aussie.
I mean, it is Australia. It's
Right, that's right.
Australia.
That's
I
why.
don't know.
But no, it's going to be Aussie now because I'm official.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Awesome. That is very official.
Absolutely.
All
I
right.
feel it's interesting when the hobby is a very interesting hobby in that at any given time you do something with a fountain pen or something fountain pen related, you might be the only person doing that thing with that pen at any given time on the planet.
It's possible.
So today, I'm just going to go ahead and say I am the only person on the planet Earth that has received a authorization to use a phrase or a style of a phrase in reference to fountain pen products by a fountain pen user attorney in Australia.
I think it's pretty safe to say that
How amazing is
you
that?
stand alone on the planet in that respect.
I feel so very special.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm a pretty cool guy.
I can't say I've got that, so
Yeah.
you got a leg up on me.
Well, as an apprentice Inkturnie, I think I can tell you that it's okay to say Aussie.
Okay. I don't actually know what I say. We'll have to catch myself like in normal conversation. All right. I got one from Caleba 9648. Not sure if I pronounced that right. Sorry. I really loved the focus on joy in this episode. I'm assuming this is last episode.
Yeah.
I can say that I've been in a bad mental place for the last few years, as I'm sure many others have, but finding fountain pens last year and the community around them has been such a genuine pleasure. It has helped me reduce my stress levels. I've made new friends. I've improved my handwriting skills, and I feel like my memory is a bit better too. It has been such a joyous and positive thing in my life, and I'm really glad other people find as much joy in the hobby as I do. That is really cool to hear.
That is delightful.
That lightens up my life quite a bit.
I make new friends all the time too. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Now the memory hasn't improved. I'll say that.
Yeah, I was going to say that I'm not feeling maybe as much, but you know what? We never know what our memory would be like if we weren't doing the pen thing all the time. So maybe in an alternate,
I could probably write more.
in an alternate timeline, I think about that too. That was like one thing I was thinking about with New Year's. Like maybe I should like make a concerted effort to improve my handwriting. And then I was like, I have like a million things going on. There's no way I'm going to be able to commit to that. Yeah. But it's a nice thought.
It is, and it's.
I respect anybody who can.
And it's our immense honor to even be a small part of anything that can bring you respite or peace when you're having these tough times. And like Absolutely. You said, it's been a tough couple of years for a lot of people. So we get that, and it's a delight being a part of that.
Very cool. Love hearing it. Keep it coming. And then Just Beth Trying says, Janaea is a rock star. I propose a new title for her. Janaea, Baroness of Bling. Well, I tell you, it's already taking root because I've literally used that within the last 45 minutes. Yeah. In natural conversation.
We all approve of that, including Janaea.
Yes. So that might stick.
Yeah.
We shall see. She definitely lives up to it. All right. And then we got Kelly La Liberté. I like the Meet the Team feature. I hope you'll continue this. Well, we are today. I think we got another one filmed as well already, and we got more team members that haven't done it yet. So
yes, we do.
We will keep it going. I don't know. What happens when we run out? Do we just bring people back?
By that time, I think people will have forgotten the first team member. So
yeah, we'll bring them back.
I think I should do you one day. I should do Rachel too.
You really should.
Yeah.
People definitely haven't heard enough of my story.
Oh, I can think of some weird questions for you.
I bet you can. I bet that would not take a lot of effort. And I'm sure I could answer them easily because I have no problem talking. All right. That said, we got some new stuff to talk about. All right. What's new? There's kind of a bunch. We got some things, especially for the next 2 weeks. We got a bunch of stuff that's coming out. So I'm going to roll through these a little bit. But my stuff's maybe a little easier to talk about because it's all Conklin Monteverde stuff. All basically the same nibs, just like different bodies, different shapes, different colors. So we've got 2 different Conklin pens. These ones, totally don't expect y'all to be super excited about these, but that's okay. It's not really for like the Pencast audience. It's the LEX Hippocrates fountain pen and rollerball. So it's basically like a doctor lawyer pen. It's black. It's very plain looking in some ways, but it's basically like a gift pen for somebody like doctor, lawyer, or somebody graduating law school, med school, whatever, or going to law school, med school. $108 for the rollerball, $116 for the fountain pen. It's a gift pen. We don't do a lot of these, but we're like, you know what? Let's try it. Let's see what happens. We're entering into graduation season at some point, and it'd be a nice offering to have. So if y'all like it, cool. If you don't, totally fine. We got other exciting stuff coming. Next, I got the Monteverde Regatta called Mondrian. This is a limited edition, and it looks really good. I don't know. These regattas, like, they're weird looking pens. I gotta say, they're objectively weird.
Yes.
But the way they keep coming up with these colors and different things, like, it's the kind of weird that I don't hate. You know what I mean? Like,
and this is a different kind of weird. Normally, you've got these stacked, segmented pens.
Yeah, normally
separated
they're
by
like alternating patterns and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, but it's a nice like rainbow kind of graduated.
It's like a wrap.
Almost looks like an ombre. Yeah, but
it's a design nice. Wrap. So there's no segments. There's no separation of the design. So you get a nice uniform illustration kind of. It's an art throwback.
It's neat. Limited edition. I don't know how many they're making. Is it numbered?
I don't recall.
I don't know. Check the website. $108 for that pen. And we have the Monteverde Invincia Vega. So normally the Invincias all have carbon fiber in them. That's kind of like their thing. These do not have carbon fiber. So if you're a little carbon fibered out, that's okay. These are still cool pens. Like the form factor of the Invincia is still a very pleasant pen. It's a bit a large side. It's a bit on the heavy side. So it's maybe not for everybody, but it's a very pleasant pen. I think it's a really good, just like, it's a very stately kind of a pen. But there's 4 colors: starlight yellow, blue, green, and purple. And it's basically a black base pen that looks like it's like almost like splattered with paint. That kind of a vibe. Kind of reminds me of some of the Schoen design stuff that he's done with the anodized stuff. It's not exactly the same, but he's done like the anodized kind of splattered look. That's like the only thing that I can think of that has anything that I've
That's
seen
a
look
bit
like
of a
that.
stretch for me.
It's definitely a stretch. Like that stuff is way different.
I would say looks like the inside of a laser tag arena.
There you go. That works.
Just like some teenager who works there went in there with some black light paint and a wet paintbrush and started just flinging paint around.
Or maybe like a paintball, like a They don't
Yeah.
really. They don't do like indoor paintball, do they? I'm sure they do. I don't know.
Probably somewhere like an arena with those big inflatable
Yeah.
shapes they hide
If
behind.
you had but laser tag, you got like the black walls
yeah,
and all that kind of stuff.
yeah. This
That makes
is
sense.
this is what it makes me think of.
Or I'm thinking like when you have some of those like rubber like gym interlocking like tiles that you can get. You know what I mean? Some of them are like they're black rubber, but they have like specked colors in them.
Like floor pads?
Yeah, they have like rubber floor pads or like maybe 3/8 of an inch thick. And you like lock them down for when you're like lifting weights and stuff like that.
Oh, see, that's
You know?
why I don't know what you're talking about.
They have them at gyms, you know?
What?
Have you heard of those?
Like the guy from The Office?
Right. Anyway, this is not relevant to anything. You can look at them because we're going to put pictures up. $76. So pretty decent. They're pretty cool looking pens. Then we got a new color of the Monteverde Ritma. This is a green. Greens are tough. They can look weird, but this is a nice green. It's a nice darker green. Really nice looking color. I don't know if I would call this like olive.
No,
because it's
a
not
bit
quite
lighter.
yellow enough.
They've done an olive. This is not that.
Yeah, this is not that, but it's a very pleasant looking green. So check that out. It's only $40. And then last but not least, we have
Kind of least.
a little bit, least of what I'm mentioning. Maybe. Physically least and price least.
Yeah.
The Monteverde Ritma Gala, or is it Gala? I've been calling it Gala, I realize, and now I'm like, it could be Gala.
Yeah.
I don't know. Aussie?
Oh, no.
What is it?
Who's going to authorize this for this one?
I don't know. Anyway, Gala. How would you pronounce that?
Depends on if it's a ball that you attend to dance at or an apple you
right?
put in your mouth.
You know what? Now that I think about it, I say Gala apples, and if there's like a ball, I'm like, it's a Gala.
Mm-hmm.
I say it two different ways. Mm-hmm. That's why I don't know how to pronounce this.
Well, it's neither of those things.
Either way,
So maybe
it's a pen.
Maybe it's Gala.
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 Gala. Check out the Ritma Gala.
There we go.
Fountain pen. So this is black, and it has a number 5 Omniflex nib. So kind of a specific use. But what's interesting about this pen is it's a lanyard pen.
A small lanyard.
So it's like a pocket Ritma. It's like a smaller pocket Ritma. So it's still got the magnetic cap, but the magnet's pretty strong. I tested it myself, and I found that you can wear like 7 to 8 pens on that lanyard.
He did.
I looked like, I don't know what I looked like, but I was just like, this is kind of fun. And I just kept like putting more and more pens on it. So anyway, it's kind of fun. You don't have to use it as a lanyard. You can take the lanyard part off and then you just have a little hook, kind of like the little traveler's pen. You know,
Yep.
I carry the traveler's pen around, but
I noticed that.
I have never lanyardized it, but it's there, It's not too obstructive, but it's a little pocket pen. So if you're into pocket pens, I will say that pen, you cannot use a full-size converter. You can use one of the little mini converters, which I think it comes with, or short standard international cartridges. So that's it. I'm out. Drew,
All right.
it's on
Tagging
you.
in.
You got just as much to talk about.
All right, we've got a new exclusive Montegrappa Elmo 01 model. Our first one was that cool beach-looking pen. We're going to follow that up, staying within theme. This one's called the Barrier Reef. We've got another gorgeous acrylic made by Montegrappa. It looks lovely. No, not by Montegrappa. It is by Turnt Pen Company.
Yes.
So Turnt Pen Company makes these. They're lovely. This one is equally lovely. Quite different, though. That is going to be available this week at $316. It is limited. So check that out.
I think when we talked about it last time, we said that Montegrappa made the material.
We did.
Almost made that mistake, but I'm glad you caught yourself.
Yep.
Good job.
Edison coming out with a new pen. That's not something that happens very often, but they have now the River's Edge Beaumont, which is a little bit of an unsung hero in the Edison line. My current favorite pen, since we don't have the Ascent anymore, I like the Beaumont's form factor because it is a smaller pen.
Yeah.
And it's also flat top, which I also appreciate.
You're a flat top guy.
Flat tops are better.
Yep.
So it's a very
Both
nice...
haircuts and pens,
Yeah, it's definitely. For sure, haircuts. The Beaumont also, this particular Beaumont looks like a very stony, pebbly look. River's Edge is a perfect name for it. Yeah. So, but you'll see that when you check it out. It's $149. Yovo nib, classic Edison production quality. You love it, I love it. Let's move on. Benu coming out with another hand-painted pen. And if you don't already know this, Alex over at Benu is their sole designer, pen maker, and painter. Like, this guy does everything. Crazy. And if he doesn't do it, then Kate does all the other stuff. They really are amazing. They do have a team, but those two really are incredible. And this painting is just one of the many incredible things that they do. The Valentine's Day pen that I'm talking about here is called Love's Little Lark, and it includes a hand-painted Cupid on every Euphoria model pen. So these being hand painted are going to be in the higher price range at $280, and they are going to be quite limited, as all of the other hand painted Euphorias and other pens are. Have they all been Euphorias?
I want to say that all the hand
All the
painted
recent ones have
been
definitely,
Euphorias,
yeah. So that's available now. Check it out. And now we're going to jump into a bunch of Ferris wheel press inks because 3 of them have just landed. The first being their 2024 special edition ink, Auroralis. So that is a 38 ml bottle. Again, that's going to be limited, in the 2024 year. It'll probably be available for quite some time. I think we ran out of last year's color toward the end of the year. So it's limited, but it should be around for a little bit.
Yeah.
That one is going to be $25, again, for 38 mil. It's a dark purple with some pink and gold shimmer. Also, with pink and gold shimmer, this one's a teal, is Knitted Nettle. So that is a smaller Fairy Tales version of the bottle, so a 20 mil bottle for $20. And that is, you've got Auroralis, which is a dark purple with pink gold shimmer. Knitted Nettle is teal with pink gold shimmer. And then we've got Sherry Sonata, also by Ferris Wheel Press. This is just a standard bottle, 38 mils for $22, and it's a pale burgundy, no shimmer.
No pink and gold shimmer in that one?
No pink and gold shimmer on that
one. Too bad. They're on a
roll.
roll.
Auroralis, Knitted Nettle, and the Sherry Sonata, all from Ferris Wheel Press, all available now.
Sounds pretty good. All right.
That's the new stuff.
Whew. That's a bunch. You can check those out on new arrivals, because I think they've all launched at this point, and well as we've got some stuff incoming soon as well on gouletpens.com. So check those out, and let's do some Q&A.
All right. Our first question comes to us from Emma, who's been really nailing it with some cool questions recently.
Yeah.
What are some brands that do not have pens models throughout the whole price range, but we wish they had? Like, for example, a brand that only has pens in the higher price ranges that you wish would make a pen in the more budget-friendly price range, or vice versa.
Or vice versa.
Yes.
Thank you for giving me more options to answer this question.
Yeah, you love more options.
I definitely needed that.
So you've got boundaries and multiple options. So it's just great for you.
Which brands that make high-end pens do I wish would make more accessible pens? All of them, I guess. Would that be so? Dreaming, I'd be like, well, of course, all of them. That would make sense. However, I'll nuance that answer a little bit, because it's would you want... That's
not an interesting answer.
Well, it's not an interesting answer. It's definitely a cop-out answer for one. It's also kind of true, though. It's but also, I think about I don't know, what's another good analogy would be an automobile manufacturer. Would I want Lamborghini to make a Ford Escort equivalent? I'm not really, because I don't think that they would really make that so great. I kind of want them to focus on what they do best. I think there are some brands that it would be kind of natural.
You would want a McLaren SUV?
Not if it was $35,000. It wouldn't be great, because that's not what they do. You know what I mean?
Still get to drive a McLaren. I mean,
y'all know that is my dream car. Is the McLaren F1. I was trying to think, is a bunch of company Ferrari made an SUV.
Yeah, I know Porsche is making some entry level.
They've been making the Cayenne for years. Yeah. They did some other ones, and they did a Ford Mustang SUV, and there's all these things. SUVs are unignorable at this point. That's what Rachel and I drive every day. So yep, as you have two. Well, yours are crossovers, aren't they?
They're smaller.
What is the difference between a crossover and SUV? Is it car frame?
Smaller.
It's car frame versus a truck frame, I think.
I don't know. It's also the number of seats, I guess.
Oh, I don't know. We are diverging.
Yes.
Anyway, so I'll get to my answer. I took notes, and I'll just say the things that I wrote. I think Sailor would be a great one. They have amazing pens. They do have the Compass. That is a somewhat newer offering, just in the last few years that they've had in the US at least.
And the High Ace Neo.
But I mean, the High Ace Neo is not. It's not really this. I mean, I guess it's the same as the Platinum Preppy compared to a 3776. It's really not the same at all. So I don't know. High Ace Neo and the Compass, they're nice pens for what they are, but I don't feel like they give you a sense of what Sailor is as a brand. But then I was thinking about I don't know, do any of the brands really do that? Most brands, their lower end offerings are really kind of completely different than their higher end offerings. So maybe LAMY, but they don't really go super high end. I don't know. I don't know who really does bridge this well. I mean, Pilot has an incredible range of pens, but like their steel nib pens are pretty different from their gold nibs.
They are, but they still maintain that signature quality control and performance.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I guess it's like
So like
it
whatever
depends kind of what you're looking for.
the thing you get out of writing with the Pilot pen is
Yeah, it's like
consistency,
consistency,
performance, and you get that across the board.
True. Yeah.
Down at the very entry level and
Yeah.
then all the way up at the top.
I would like to see that with Sailor too.
Yeah.
Because I think Sailor, like when I think about Sailor, they have good consistency as well, but they also have so many different like color offerings and themes to the different pens. Like to me, that would be really cool to incorporate some of that into some lower price pens as well, because I think that would be pretty cool. So Sailor definitely is one that I think would be great. I was thinking about this, but pretty much all the Italian brands, because not a lot of them, some of them have like relatively more affordable pens, but that's only because like if you look at Visconti, like their more affordable stuff is still in like 150 plus. Like that's, I don't know if I would really call that affordable. I don't think I could. When you look at like Pilot, like their gold nibs start at that price point. They have plenty of pens below that. So, but then also like you and I, we've seen some Italian pens that come out that are like in the $50 to $70 range.
I think we can.
They haven't been.
I think we
my
can.
favorite.
I think we can say that the Metropolis was a failed pen. Like it just was. Like
and I think about like the Stipula Passaporto.
the
revamp
the Visconti Breeze didn't do well, and these companies would say that. Like we're not trash talking it. They just didn't work. And that's okay. Some things don't work.
I think some of that is like just the way that like the manufacturing is set up in Italy. It's just not made for like mass production like that, And so it's just, if you want that like Italian vibe, you're working with really small companies basically.
Yeah.
And they just can't put out pens in that kind of same
Well,
thing,
I think
guess.
the important thing for Visconti to do is I think they could do it, but they might not be able to make it in Italy. But I think what you get from Visconti is, fun designs and fun
creativity,
like really fun body styles too, because they're not just about color, they're about different body styles and just overall big aesthetic. So if they outsourced, they might be able to do it, but it would be not made in Italy. So it's like it would definitely not be the same.
That would be tough. Monograppa, they've got some amazing stuff, but pretty much everything is like higher end. Like their most affordable stuff's like $300.
And when they have gone, mid-level with like the Game of Thrones stuff and the Harry Potter stuff,
and that's done okay. But
it's done okay,
still,
but
what they do on the high end is like it's so good.
It starts to not feel like a Montegrappa anymore.
Yeah,
same thing with Visconti.
That's a tough one. So like, if done right, I think that would be amazing to have those too.
Yeah,
but again, not to knock like any of the lower stuff. Like the Mythos is a great example. Like that's a very solid.
That's as pen. Successful as I think any Italian brand has done, getting close to entry level.
Well, and the Elmo, like when they came out with the Elmo years ago, that pen was like $200, which is still not entry level, but for Monograppa,
for Italy.
So I mean, I don't know. So that'd be kind of neat. This one was kind of interesting. I put Pelican. Now Pelican has some more affordable pens, but they're all like kid pens.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Like they have the Pelicano and the Pelicano Junior, the Pelican Twist. Like they really don't feel like you look at the Souvrons.
Yeah.
M200, 400, 600, 800,000. And then you look at a Twist, it's like, are these even made by the same company? Like there's nothing that translates between the two necessarily.
Yeah, didn't they at one point have a 100?
They've had a 100, but even that was not super affordable.
Really?
I think it was still a steel nib. I've got a 100 and then like a 101. They've done all kinds of things over the years. But that was still that was more like M200-ish range, which, you're still pushing $200 for that. So, but I'm talking like, something in like a Lamy Safari All-Star type of range.
Yeah.
But
that didn't look like a toy.
That doesn't look like a toy. Yeah. They all kind of look like kid pens. Yeah. I was thinking they had like a couple, or they've had, was it like this? I wanted to say like the Stella, but that's a Pilot thing. They had something, but it was still like $75, $80, and it was not that amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, they can do it. Just do the same thing as a Twist, but put it on a less insane body style.
I think they must probably do a lot in like the art supply world and like the kids thing. Kind of like Lamy has like the ABC and the Nex and stuff like that. It's like it feels like those kind of pens, So it's like it would be cool to see some like offerings from Pelican that are more like a Safari or All-Star. I think they could do it.
Definitely.
But that would be kind of neat. And then that was kind of it for me. I think most of the others that I could feel kind of okay with their ranges, I would obviously welcome any budget-friendly pens, but I don't know. Those are the ones that came to mind. And then to flip it, budget brands going upscale. This is tough. This is really tough. Again, going back to the car analogy, Volkswagen came out with their Phaeton, which was like really nice, like Mercedes, like C-Class. Is that the higher end one? S-Class? I don't remember. It was like, $80,000, $90,000 car. Super nice. Like very highly rated from car critics, but like nobody bought it because nobody wanted to pay 90 grand for a Volkswagen. So I feel like that would be the situation. Like we get a little bit of this with Lamy. Like some people, if they're looking at like a $400 or $500 Lamy pen, you're like, yeah, but it's a Lamy. Like it's the same thing as Safari. Like it's really tough for a brand to go upscale. It takes a very, very long time for that to happen. So I don't know, but I think I would be curious about two brands specifically to see what they could do with high-end pens. One would be TWSBI, because they're so on point with the affordable stuff that if like money was no object and they could kind of go nuts, I'd be very curious to see what that would look like. And then the other one is Kaweco. So Kaweco's done some slightly higher end stuff, but I'd be curious to see what they could do if they really went for it. So those are two brands that like I feel like they have good quality. They've kind of got their niche, but I haven't really seen anything super highly themed or super high end. So I don't know. That's what I would.
Conklin had some success going to the 125th anniversary Nozac.
Yeah, that's true.
We reordered those,
which was surprising.
Me. I did not want to carry those.
No,
I was against that. Y'all were for it, and I'm glad we went for it because they ended up selling, and we bought more, and we must have reordered several times.
Yeah.
So they did all right. I think that we're beginning to, they're beginning to, fade away now. I think the limited nature is, coming to a head, and they're going to go away.
They were like an anniversary pen too, so it was kind of there's a clear purpose behind it.
I didn't think we would sell $1,000 Conklin. I was like, nobody's going to buy a $1,000 Conklin, but they did. They absolutely did. So if Conklin can do it, hey, who knows?
Yeah.
So that's a good motivator for me. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I'm going to go way off the map here. And say, why couldn't Bic or Papermate or Pentel make some nice fountain pens at an affordable price?
Wow, that would be. Unforeseen.
I'm not thinking like a budget fountain pen brand going into high end. I'm thinking like a low
end
budget,
just pen brand.
Just going, making a Metropolitan or let's get Bic to make a $35 fountain pen. Like, why wouldn't that be successful? Like, they should be able to do that. If they don't already do it somewhere and I'm just not aware of it.
Bic done fountain pens?
I don't know. But, Pentel is...
It seems like the kind of thing that they must have come out with something at some point, right?
Probably. I don't know why it can't be... I mean, it couldn't have been that bad. So, yeah, you've got Bic, you've got Papermate, you've got Pentel. Like, who knows? Uniball could do it. So I don't know. I would like to see some of that because Pilot does that. Pilot's a large company like that, and we know that Pilot makes their money selling these disposable rollerballs, not making fountain pens. So to that end, why couldn't one of these other larger rollerball companies make some waves doing that?
So Bic, it looks like they have some disposable fountain pens.
They do have some. I have one in my.
Do you?
I have one in my office. Yep.
Okay.
I just realized. Yep. Adrian brought me one from Spain.
Huh.
I forgot what it is, but it's got some cartoon characters in there. You pull the back out, twist it, and you put a cartridge in there, and then you fold the back in and
that's
close
right.
it.
I remember you showing that to me.
Yeah. And the nib is crimped. It does not have any tipping material in it. It's just pinched at the end to make it, flat. So, yes, Bic does make fountain pens, and it's great.
Huh.
It's great. I love the pen. So
the X Pen, that seems to be another one. There's like the Easy Click.
Yeah. So I'd like to see that. I'd like why not? Like they already know how to pen. So let's see some fountain pens from them.
Okay.
And I do think that Sailor's getting pretty close to figuring out the entry level thing. I think they want to. I just think they're dialing it in. Like they're definitely putting the Compass line is not just a pen. It is an entire focus around, I believe it's an American thing, because they're calling the Dipton inks Compass Dipton.
Yeah.
So Compass is appearing to be a line that Sailor is positioning for the U.S. market for these kind of like wild and crazy stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if they continue to flesh out the Compass line and give us a good steel nib pen here soon, because it definitely seems to be a focus of theirs.
Yeah.
It does seem like they're investing in the Compass line and trying to enrich that, through the Hokoro nib, through all these interesting more calligraphy type ink. So I think that we should see some more of that soon, which I'm optimistic about.
Yeah.
And then I think that the secret to Lamy, I agree with what you said. Lamy could absolutely make an $800 pen, and I think people would buy it. What I think the problem is that you can't put that same nib on there. Like,
you don't think so?
No, if you have,
it's a good nib though.
It is, but you can get that same gold nib at a $175 price point. Why would you spend all that on something up at $800?
You can, but they don't have that many pens at that price with that nib on
but
it.
you know how much the nib itself costs. So
the nib is most of the cost of that pen.
They need to make a big nib, a full size, like number 6 gold nib.
That we've never seen from Lamy.
No, but that's what would need to change. I think if they
There's no reason they couldn't.
If they did that, it doesn't need to be number 6, but that size, like Pelican. Like
a bigger nib, yeah.
If they just decided to take a page out of Pelican's book and make a nice piston filler, kind of like the Lamy 2000, but maybe a little larger, like something very German, something that speaks to Lamy's history and design, form, they could do it. You just need a bigger nib. You can't have that little tiny triangle. That wouldn't that you're not going to win with that.
You think it's like hand tying it or whatever, like its hands are tied by sticking that
absolutely.
On the high end.
It's too well defined in the price category.
It's like the Volkswagen thing with the Phaeton, right?
You need to do something new.
Yeah.
So I think that they could do it. They just need to abandon the nibs they have, come up with a nice big crazy nib with some beautiful ornate imprint, go from there.
Well, I guess what are we considering, just so we can contextualize this in our own conversation here, what are we considering to be like high end here?
Well, I think it's relative to where the brand sits now. So for like,
do you have like a specific dollar cutoff in mind?
For a company like Pentel, I think high end would be like $35. For a company like Lamy, I think high end would be like
$250 plus.
I was thinking like $5 to $8.
Oh wow!
Because they already make like the stainless steel 2000, which is around the range you're
or like the
talking
Dialogue
about.
3, the Emporium.
They do already live there. So I'm saying for high end them, they need to be now in Visconti realm.
Okay, so basically, they've done like the Urushi Dialogue, which was like that was like a one-off thing though. Yeah. But like they really haven't done anything 500 plus.
Yeah. So I'm thinking like 600 to 1,000 really.
That would be interesting.
They could do it. There's no reason that people would pay $1,000 for an M1000 and wouldn't pay that same amount for a comparable Lamy pen, because Lamy has the reputation for quality.
Unless you got the Volkswagen effect going on, like would people pay that much? But
Pelican lives right in that same area that Lamy does, in all areas.
I mean, you could argue that Pelican's lower end pens are not even of the same. Whatever style, class,
but the fact,
whatever is the Lamy.
If someone can look at a twist and say, you know what, I'm going to buy a $1,000 pen from that brand, then Lamy can do it.
Yeah, I don't. Well, I mean, we can tell you the ones who are our customers that are buying M1000s, they're not buying twists. So I don't think it's serving the same people at all.
But well, we also don't stock the ABC, so
we don't because.
No one buys it.
Did we ever carry the ABC? I don't know.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
Absolutely, we did.
Yeah, we carried. Okay.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and we did. We definitely carried the Next. We tried that one twice.
Yep.
And nobody wanted it.
Yeah, we tried it the first time and the next time.
We just don't. We tried the Twist. We've tried all these things. Like we just don't do well with like the really kid-styled pens. I don't know why. But anyway, there's nothing wrong with them.
Kids don't use fountain pens in this country.
That is probably mostly the reason why, because it's adults that are buying them. Right. Yeah, and most adults buying pens for their kids are going to buy like other pens.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay, cool. Well, what do y'all think? We would love to hear your thoughts. I feel like I know I'm missing something, but I tried to look at the brands on our site and give it some thought, but I like your approach of like the totally just like left field brand. It's like not even in the game really coming out with something.
They could if they wanted to, but they look at it and they're like, there's no money over there. And they're right.
They're right. I don't know how much money there is where they are right now, even because I think everybody's like, AI is going to take over all writing. I don't know. But we know it's not because we love writing. All right. I got a question for you, Drew, from Heather Gleiser. Do you have any favorite pen show memories? Sorry to give you such a difficult question. I know it's going to be so hard to come up with some.
I did meet Heather at a pen show, so I'll say it was a delight, Heather. Thank you. But no, I have many, many, many. I'll try to get through them quickly because I did write some down, but every single pen show I visit is a unparalleled joy that I don't think is going to be topped, and then it ends up being topped at the next show that I go to. So they've always been a delight, but there are a few things that popped into my head, and I will be missing some, so forgive me. But
that goes for both of us.
I will never forget the first time I met my friend Morali at a pen show, and he had been a customer, became a friend, and continues to be a lifelong friend. And I do still get to meet him, but the first time I met him at DC, it was just really cool because like a lot of people I've met at pen shows, finally being able to put a face to the name and the voice, was a delight. And that was that was a long time ago. That was probably 10 years ago.
Yeah, decade, yeah.
So that was a while. Also a while ago, one of the first DC pen shows I went to, I saw the Canalea booth for the first time. And when they first launched with those like insane acrylics that looked like, oh, you've got a beach and you've got water and you've got a cloud, and like it was this stacked, kind of almost a distance of acrylic design that I'd never seen before, and they had all the sand there. Like the first time me seeing that, I was like, "Whoa, that's different." It
was different, yeah.
That was amazing. I'll never forget that. And then overall, and I think you'll agree with this, Atlanta 2018 was unforgettable.
Yeah,
so much happened there.
That was a big one.
We visited Mark Bacchus. We got to sit with him, and like I helped him with his guest list, and Brad and Mike did a live pen addict there. Yeah. We talked to customers about the validity of Retro 51 there.
That's right.
And we were told like, hey, yep, Retro 51's awesome. We came back, had a meeting with Retro 51, carried it, have been successful with it ever since.
Yep. That's the show where I got my Pilot M90 as well.
Yeah, and then you and I just got to travel adventure together. Yes. We flew down, we drove, we went to the Varsity in Atlanta.
That's right. I got the shirt.
Yeah, so the whole time it was just a fun trip, and that was a show unlike any other. And another thing that happened in Atlanta, I had met my friend Jerica there, and she had wanted to buy a corgi shirt like the one I had.
Okay.
And she went out one day. It was like a 2-show day, it was a 2-day show. And then the next day she had on a corgi shirt, but it was a different one. It was a Hawaiian print one. And I'm like, well, I need that shirt. So after, this was like a year later at the Philly show, I had bought that one, and we got a picture together with both of our corgi shirts or something like that. That's awesome. I'm probably messing up the timeline, but that was awesome and just amazing. And it continues to be fun. And then, of course, meeting my friends here on the Pencast, Dan, our science correspondent, textile, guru. He had brought that astronaut glove to DC in 2022, so I got a picture of that, and the thing was huge, by the way, all full of wires too. I had to put my finger in there very, very carefully. Yeah. So that was just amazing, and I knew who he was immediately. He knew me, and it's just like, I don't know you, but I know you. Yeah. All of those interactions are priceless. Oh, yeah. And then 2023 at DC, I got to have the most delightful dinner, unforgettable dinner, and I had met Brad, Dowdy, and Aziza at a bunch of different times, but I got to go out to dinner with Brad and Aziza's podcast team. And it was just, and Aziza's friend Sim was there, and it was just the most delightful dinner. It was a Mexican or Tex-Mex place, and that was magical and wonderful, and I will never forget that. And then there was another dinner in 2023, actually, but this one at the Baltimore show. I was there with, Brad was there, Fiddle Twist was there, Evan and his dad were there, and then Annabelle from Appelboom and Opus Cineris was there, and she being from the Netherlands, just very quiet, soft-spoken, right. little timid. And the server we had that day was the most direct, forceful, short, curt fellow I had ever been served, by my entire life. And his name tag said Charlie, but with the EY, but there was a space between the E and the Y, so it looked like Charles E. So that was memorable, but he was just so like when it came time for her to order, he was like, just what do you want? And she's like, and then I remember he said dressing, like salad, and she was like, yes.
Not used to that.
So funny.
Confrontational.
And no, and he like she's just naturally a very just calm, for America. That anyway, over there she says she's loud, but and then this guy was just like so just abrupt and just he was not polite. He was not mean, but he was not having a good day. So I'll never forget that because that was a really, really funny dinner. And then San Francisco 2022 overall. So that was my first trip to In-N-Out Burger with my friend Craig, and his friends David and Troy came with us. And got to eat In-N-Out that time. I got to hug Mark Dwight in his fuzzy royal plush jacket, so that was amazing. An experience I'll never forget. And then that was the year we had that live event with Brad from Pen Addict, CY from Tokyo Station Pens, and then April and Kelly from the Stationery Cafe. So we all did a panel together at that event, which was really unforgettable as well. And then one of the most unpredictable events from that year is I kind of got kidnapped by three delightful ladies, Cheryl, Sherry, and Marianne, who were friends of Mark Dwight over at Rickshaw. I was with Mark for a shop tour, and Cheryl was great friends with Mark, helped him run the booth. She now works there, but she was like, hey, do you want to come with us to go somewhere? And I'm like, they knew me. I didn't know them. They seemed nice enough. And I was like, yeah, sure. So I spent the whole rest of the day with her and her friends, listening to their stories, talking about how they met, how they come together at pen shows, hang out with each other. Sherry ended up being someone that you had told me a story about because she had a husband who was a firefighter, and I had known all about that. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're that lady. And
she's one of the most memorable pen show people. Yeah.
So it was all coming together, and then they ended up being just some of the most fantastic people I've ever met. They took me to San Jose. We got Italian dinner. I had an affogato for the first time. And it was just a delight, a total impromptu, random thing. But it was such a magical moment because they knew me. And I'm just like, great,
that is an interesting experience.
My work is done. I don't have to do anything. If y'all know me, great. Sure, let's go somewhere. And it was such and I love that. I'm not I love not having to, it's like you get to skip, a bunch of steps just to the, okay, cool, let's have fun part.
Especially if you're with another group and they're all talking to each other. And you're getting to eavesdrop on their small talk.
I'm just like, great.
And they already know about you.
Let's go. Yeah. It's
let's your blended introverty,
so we just sat outside of San Jose and got scared to death by all the crazy Lamborghinis driving by and trying to get attention from people.
There you go.
And obviously Pencast number 100 at the DC show last year, 2023.
Yes.
Can't forgive that one.
Of course.
The Mexican pancakes at the DC show for a couple years.
R.I.P.
Those are no longer available, but there was at least 2 years where we went to a Mexican restaurant in the Mosaic District of Washington, D.C., or not D.C. proper, but, Penn Show D.C.
Metro D.C. area.
Yeah. And there was a Mexican restaurant that sold pancakes, and I'm with Brian and Rachel and some of the members of our team, and I'm like, well, I need to get these pancakes because they're on the menu. Why would this Mexican restaurant have pancakes?
And we were all like, Drew, pancakes? Really?
I can't not get pancakes. So I got them, and they were amazing.
Yes.
And then the next year
we went back and almost everybody got the pancakes.
And they all agreed that they were amazing. And then the restaurant closed down, so that was a bummer. And then overall, I'll just round out.
Pancakes don't pay the bills.
I know, unfortunately. I'll just round things out by saying there have been so many pen friends, pen celebrities, just people that I've been excited to meet, whether it's other retailers that have all been amazingly nice. I've met Tom from Goldspot, I've met Joost Appelboom, I've met the Drum Ghouls. They're all just such delightful people, and it's been amazing to kind of see them in person. Yeah. The whole community is filled with delightful people. And then, you've got the influencers and the video people. I remember when I met Abby Sy in San Francisco, she was like, oh my God, it's true. I'm like, oh my God, it's Abby. We were both just complete nerds for each other because we both, it was just fantastic. And there have been so many wonderful interactions like that with so many people and people I've just known from Instagram that I finally got to meet. And it's going to keep happening, which is amazing. Another wonderful reason to continue going to these shows.
Yeah. So I sort of similar. I echo everything you've said. This is really an impossible question for me because I'm going to leave out so many people that I would love to just go on and on and on about. So forgive me for that. But Obviously, one of the most memorable for me was the first pen show that I went to in DC in 2009, because I really didn't know what I was getting into. I knew nothing about this world at all. It was a tip-off from a friend of mine who was a pen maker. I was a wood turner pen maker, and so I didn't know anything about fountain pens, never used one in my life. I went to that show just to scope it out and see what it was all about and get some Rhodia and a bottle of ink. That's kind of like all I knew. I was like, well, I want to try a fountain pen, so let me go get some stuff. And I went in, then I was totally overwhelmed. I was like, what the heck is this world? And then I also sort of have a revelation of like, I need to learn more about this.
I want to be a part of this.
Here we go.
This is great.
That's really what kicked it all off. So
I want to go to there.
Yes. Obviously that was very meaningful. Talking about the whole like fanboy type of thing. In DC in 2018 is when I met Jake Weidman, Master Penman. So he was attending with Kenro. He was doing some stuff with Montegrappa. So he was like engraving some stuff and doing some stuff for them at the table. I
remember that he was doing caps, right?
He was engraving people's caps. Yeah. So if you bought the Montegrappa Mule, he would engrave, it was a copper pen.
That's right.
He would engrave in the copper. So he's such a Renaissance man. He paints, he does wood carving and woodworking, he does engraving and jewelry. He's a master calligrapher, just incredible guy. And he's also like probably the nicest person I've ever met in my life. Just genuinely good guy. And it was like, I had made contact with him before that because I just loved his work and loved everything he was doing. So we knew we were going to meet each other at the show. And it was like, kind of like you said, like the mutual, fanning out. You. Yeah. And that happened. And we've been friends ever since. So that was extremely memorable. And Rachel thought it was hilarious because she got to see me geek out and fan over somebody, which doesn't happen a lot. Lots of other pen influencers, kind of like you said, Brad and Mike in Atlanta. You already talked about that a bit. Meeting Stephen Brown, seen him on a couple different occasions, but he's one that goes way back as well. So getting to meet people who I haven't been in contact with for like, I don't know, years, decade plus, getting to finally like meet people in person is like a very surreal experience. People like Mike Madison, Aziza, David Parker, Fig Boot. He's a big fan of Rubik's Cubes. So I get to like geek out on Rubik's Cubes and stuff. And then I think this was also Atlanta in 2018. Matthew Morse. So he was doing at the time, I don't know if he still does this, but he was doing stuff where he would like grind away part of a Pilot Parallel. So that it was like it was kind of rounded. Mm-hmm. And he would do this kind of art and then he would like flick ink onto it. So it had this very like, graffiti-ish kind
remember
of like
that. I actually don't
splattered look.
I actually don't think we were using parallels at that point. I think he had folded nibs with him.
Oh, maybe he had folded nibs. Yeah. I know that's like a thing that I ground a couple. I did mess with the parallels, but so I may be incorrect about the tools that we were using at the time. But
yeah, he had brought a lot of folded nibs.
Yeah, sitting with him at the show.
Like, is it right outside the bar area? Yeah. Those were folded nibs. I remember that.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
I was terrible with those. I don't know why.
Yeah, but like just getting to see, because I'd like seen his artwork online that he'd done and then seeing like how he did it, I was like, oh, this is really cool. He's also a super nice guy. And then a couple of like just classes, like education that I got at some of these shows. So Richard Bender I don't think he does the instructions anymore on the nib grinding, but I don't know. He might have kind of sunset on that. He was like easing into retirement for years there. But we'd taken a class there in DC. I got further instruction with him, but it started out at the show. Got to sit down with Mike Masayama for a couple hours and get some nib training as well. Obviously getting to sit with Mark Bacchus and Gina Salarino and other, all the nib folks are so nice. And like, if you go to a show, they're not like huddled away somewhere. They're just like out there and they're like grinding, working. Everybody's just walking around. So if you kind of want to see what they're doing, you can just, you want to respect their, personal space, but you can kind of just stand there and watch them work and you can just learn a lot. And a lot of them, if they're like, if it's not super crazy crowded, busy, they'll even kind of explain some of the stuff you're doing. You can kind of pick their brain. So that's been really cool just to get to see some of them work. I got some specific pens that I've wanted at some of these shows. The Pilot M90, got that at the Atlanta show there. The Shown with the Monarch nib, got that last year. Canalea, I've gotten one or two of those. And then some like vintage stuff. I got like a Schaefer Snorkel. I've gotten a Parker 45. Just some things where I've gone to previous shows and it's like, oh, I get asked these things or I'm curious about this pen. Let me go find one of these at this show. So that's always cool when I can have like a find that I get at a pen show. And then the biggest thing really is like just hearing people's personal stories, because obviously we've been doing the broadcasting thing, whatever, for quite some time. And there's lots of people whose lives have been impacted by some of the stuff that we've done, whether it's like content or whether it's, actually getting these products and using them. So getting to hear people's personal stories and how it's impacted their lives, especially ones related to like mental health and like using pens and writing to like help recover and cope and like deal with all this real stuff in their lives. It just hits in such a different way than just like, oh, we're talking about pens and sell this thing this week. It's like, no, this like really means a lot to a lot of people. And that is really like good fuel.
We always come back so recharged.
Yes. Drained and recharged.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
It's very draining to like hear this, especially like the really heavy stuff. Like people talking about, I mean, literally people talking about like, I was depressed and suicidal, and then I found your stuff, and it turned my life around. And you're just like, oh my gosh, like we're just sitting down doing a pencast. And I'm like, I had no idea that it was like that impactful for yourself. And you're just like, oh my God, I feel like I can't ever take a minute off because, it's like that important to some people. But I mean, obviously we find that balance, but hearing that, like literally people that like flew to the show, if we said that we were going to be at a show, knowing that we were going to be there and telling us these stories, it really means a lot. So pretty cool. So anyway, it's a great community. Love it. Love being a part of it. Super honored. All right. Drew.
Next up comes from an anonymous YouTube user, but it's a good question.
Okay.
They ask, which LAMY LX color would we like to invent? Like a new one.
Yeah.
Which
the LX or the Lux, that's also what it's known sometimes. So.
Yeah, I never know what to say.
No,
but
neither.
We've
Aussie,
Right. We never talk about this pen, like ever. So I jumped at the opportunity to have a LAMY LX Lux question.
Yeah.
So let's do it. Let's invent a new Lux.
I did give this some thought
Hey-o.
because I actually do really like this pen.
It's a nice pen, me too.
Yeah. Now, I will say, if you just look at the pen, it seems like it's a bit more expensive for what it is because it's essentially an all-star. Yeah. Now, like the trim is a little nicer and stuff like that, but also it's the packaging, which we don't necessarily show a whole lot, but the tube that it comes in is also metal. It matches the pen. So the presentation on this is really nice. And that's part of what you're paying for there.
Way more gifty than an all-star with that, slotted cardboard.
100%. So that is part of it. But if you're just using it just for the pen, it feels like you're paying a little bit of premium. But that tube is really cool. So
you get that cool nib too.
Yes, and the nib looks really sharp. So they've done 5 colors so far. We have 4 of them currently on our site because they have one that they've discontinued. So they used to have just like a gold, like a yellow gold one. I don't know if you remember that one. But it was all gold and the trim matched and everything. Still had the black nib. But the current 4 that they have now, rose gold, maroon, which is brown, which Drew, of course, likes, ruthenium, which is like a dark gray, and then palladium, which is like a white, lighter silver color. So I think like kind of the vibe with the Lux is like they're very metallic, very like precious metal type of a vibe. So I was thinking about it. I was like, okay, would I feel like we need to like deviate from that, like go with some wild colors that like really stand out? But it's also like, well, that's kind of what like the other pens are for. Should I stick more with the like precious metals kind of a thing? So I really was thinking about this way too much, and how much I thought about it probably didn't present in the output of my thought that I will share, but just know that I thought about it a lot. I was thinking about it and I was thinking like a black would be pretty sweet.
Definitely.
Like I think about like the LAMY All-Star black that they did. That was a special edition, but it looked really, really sharp. And maybe as a variant to make it look a little different is if you kept it black, but you did the ruthenium trim. Yeah. So like a 2-tone with like that ruthenium, like steel gray, like gunmetal kind of a trim. Yeah. That would look tight.
Yeah.
I would like that a lot. So I think that would be cool. I don't know how this would actually work, but I said Damascus because I think Damascus looks incredible. If you ever seen like Damascus steel, like knives and swords and stuff like that, I don't know because you wouldn't actually be able to make it out of Damascus.
Damascus aluminum, yeah.
I don't know what that would look like, but I'd be curious. It would probably actually not look that great, but I don't know. If it could be done right, that would look pretty rad. That wasn't my best idea. So basically I went on a Google search and I was like, what metal colors are there? And so I found...
Can't metal be any color?
Well, and you can color it to make it look something, but I'm talking like the mineral, like the raw element.
Oh.
You know what I mean? So I was like, like gold, rhodium, like these are all elements, palladium, platinum, all that kind of stuff. But most of them
so you're
are
trying
like,
to stay on theme.
I was trying to stay on theme.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
That's what just kind of, because like they have all stars and like you can get so many different things. So I was like, what would really fit within that like precious metal kind of a vibe? So the one that I think I pulled out of it was bismuth.
Oh yeah. So kind of like a rainbowy stuff.
Yeah. So like a bismuth is it's like a really shiny steel, but it has kind of an iridescent look to it. Like if you look at bismuth crystals and stuff, they look kind of crazy.
All right. Yeah. Because bismuth isn't a steel.
It's not really like a metal, but it is like an element of some kind. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like you create it with, it's like a chemical reaction.
Yeah.
And it builds upon itself.
Yeah. So I don't know if it totally fits in the thing, but I don't know.
But no,
It
you
seemed
could
kinda
achieve
neat.
that color though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So I think that would look pretty rad. So that one is probably like on the wilder end of what I came
That would
up
look
with.
rad. Yeah.
Yeah, that would look good. So anyway, Google that. Bismuth crystals. They look crazy.
Yeah. They're like very geometric. Like a lot of squares.
Yeah. Yeah. And they look like square rainbows. It's crazy looking.
It's funky.
But,
Yeah. Archer has one of those at home.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because he
Okay.
every now and then he gets obsessed with minerals and gems. And
Okay.
then he forgets about them and doesn't care. And then he comes back and
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I also saw like blocks of bismuth. Like I don't know that it always has to look at like those crystals. That might be like
you can
one
form it
process.
at home.
Okay.
Like you can
Oh.
you can get the chemicals needed, and I think
Interesting.
it might need to be electrified. I don't know, but
Okay.
you can do it at home. I've watched videos. I forgot about them, of course, because that's how my brain works. But at one point I knew exactly how to do it, and then it got pushed out and refilled with something else completely pointless.
Okay. I will have to Google that while you're responding.
Yeah,
to your
well, I
question.
think that the black is a great idea, and I thought about that too. I didn't stay on theme as well as you did, but I thought about black and pink because I would want a black pen with like anodized hot pink clip and finials because I think black and hot pink are super freaking rad. And then likewise, I would love to have some more brown pens. My first thought was a brown with green hardware or green with brown hardware. I don't know. Either way, you go with, clip and finials, green or brown, and then the rest of it, green or brown, whatever the opposite is. And then I thought about the Royal Jade and Rose Gold TWSBI Eco and how absolutely beautiful that was. So I have to think about a green LX with rose gold hardware.
That would look good.
Right?
They haven't done a green like that on an All-Star, have they? Not that I can think.
I don't believe so. I have a pale green one.
Have they done? Yeah, I guess they've done like a mint.
But
green.
I think about like the dark green, like the Diplomat Arrow, how beautiful that is.
Yeah, they haven't
That's
done anything like that.
The aluminum can look really good when it's dark green.
That would look tight.
So dark green,
Dark green
rose
with rose
gold
gold.
hardware. Yes, sir.
I think that's a better idea than mine.
That's
That's pretty solid.
That's what I'm sitting on.
So when I Googled how to make bismuth,
Mm-hmm.
Google autofill was like, how to make bismuth crystals from Pepto-Bismol. That's one of the things that came up. And I was like, well, I got to click on that. So apparently you burn off the impurities using a blowtorch and then melting and crystallizing the metal. That's one method. Second method is to grind the tablets, dissolve them in muriatic acids, filter the liquid, and precipitate the bismuth onto aluminum foil, and then melt and crystallize the metal. And you get those crazy looking cubey crystals that are rainbow looking.
I think you need to do this weekend and report
Sounds
back.
like I need to make my own bismuth all-star Lux thing. That's
Love
going to
it.
be very difficult to do, but it seems like it could happen. I don't know.
Let's go for it.
So is it a metal? I'm not confused now. I don't actually know what bismuth is. I need to research it more.
I think it's
It's not really
I think it's a mineral or crystal.
I mean, it is metal. It is metal, but it's like a crystal. I don't know.
I don't know either.
We are now over the cliff of my actual
I think it has to be a
knowledge.
crystal because that's how crystals are formed, right?
But it's
They're built
it's
upon it.
metal. Like crystals are. Oh boy, I really don't know.
It's like crystallized metal.
Right?
You know what? Somebody out
Oh,
there
boy,
knows way more about us, and they are just beating their head up against the keyboard, like, y'all,
Yeah.
shut up.
We don't know. We don't know. Anyway, it piqued my curiosity.
Yes.
Had
Somebody will
I-
let us know.
It seemed like it would have been good for me to do a deep dive on that, but I just didn't.
Nope.
I didn't take the bait.
No, that's not
So,
even that is a
we'll
deep
see if
dive
I-
on a tangent.
That is a very tangential. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Question 4, go.
Okay. Yes. Abyss says, Grail pens have been discussed on the show before, but do either of you have Grail Nibs, i.e. the Sailor King Cobra? That's a good one. Drew?
I do have Grail Nibs. I have
Grails?
lots of Grail Nibs.
Lots.
Lots. Oh my God, yes. Let me start off with my most superficial Grail Nib, and that is to You can equate this to the Infinity Gauntlet, or you can equate this to the EGOT pursuit. But I would love to have an Esterbrook with all of the special nibs on it. I would like to have multiple Esterbroks with the CY Techo.
I thought you meant like a multi-pen.
No, I want a pen with the CY Techo, with the Gina Journaler, with the Josh Scribe, with the Kirk needlepoint. I want all of them.
Okay.
In their own little case. I just
So just like all of them are Grail pens or Grail nibs.
No, but all of them together is a Grail nib.
What do you mean together?
Set.
Like on a single writing instrument?
I want the set. No, I want the collection.
There's not a set. What are you talking about?
I want to make a set.
But this doesn't even exist.
I'm going to buy all of them.
Well, okay.
That's what I want. I want,
okay.
Any one is delightful, but I want them all. I feel like something special would happen if I collected them all.
Okay.
I feel like I would achieve some sort of supernatural ability.
Kind of like the, oh boy, what are they called? My kids talk about it all the time, and I pretend to listen. Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, the Chaos Emeralds.
Chaos Emeralds, yes.
Yeah. Chaos Emeralds, or most famously the 4 skulls from the movie The Phantom.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Or like the stones.
Rest in peace, Treat Williams.
Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. The different stones.
The Sankara stones, I believe. Yeah.
Is that what they're called? Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Monty Winfield makes incredible stacked nibs. His polishing,
he's got some crazy stuff.
His welds and his polishing are next level. These seams when he stacks nibs just look so freaking gorgeous.
Yeah, they do.
And we'll get into this a little bit later, talking about reverse writing. But he makes a lot of nibs that have some really nice, really wide strokes because of the shape, and then they write really well upside down as well. So you get 2 completely different strokes. He's got like the seagull nib and a bunch of different bird-themed nibs. I would love to have one of those one day.
Yeah.
And then I want a monarch nib. I want a shown design monarch nib. Really want one of those. I want a rainbow one. Or any of them. I don't even care. I just want one. I just want one. Yes, please.
Yep.
But of all, so the Peniter quill nib. So I love that nib. I love the way it looks.
Yeah.
The writing is good.
Yes.
I would want to get one and have it highly customized. Maybe some feed edits done, maybe have it thinned out so it's more flexible than what it used to be.
Okay.
Basically, I'm in love with that nib, and I will just work with it forever. But if my Grail nib is basically a Peniter nib that has been super customized, kind of like my 912 has.
Yeah. So I was thinking like, I was originally thinking like commercially available nibs or whatever, but customized, like that totally makes sense because that's essentially what all these fancy nibs are, is customized. Yeah.
And then finally, without a doubt though, the space, when you think Grail nib, this one is far, 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 far ahead of all the other ones. It's not even a close. The Grail nib that I would have would be Annabelle of Opus Cineris's harmonic nib. That is the nib I've talked to you before about how like she melts the gold, she forms the shape, she folds, and that is the Grail of Grails when it comes to nibs out there.
She's like hammered some and
they're like $1,000 a piece, like at least. There should probably be more, but you're not there is no nib like that at all in the world. So that one has to be the Grail nib. Like if that's not your Grail nib, then you haven't heard about it before, because that's it. It's a work of art.
Yeah,
on a pen. So
cool.
That has to be my number one for sure. What about you?
These are all really good nibs. I like all these. I have some of these already, so some of that is like
I know.
I kind of like. I'm not trying to rub it in, but like, I don't know, you put them on. You put the question on here, so I was like, yeah, I actually have some of these. But the thing I will say is like, there are, I know some, but I have pretty simple needs when it comes to actually writing with my pens. Like, I don't write with the craziest nibs on a daily basis. I kind of like my more conventional nibs.
Well, you also don't collect unnecessary things. Like you are very. If you collect something that that
there's always a purpose.
Exactly.
There's always a purpose.
So I have no problem collecting things I never touch. So that doesn't bother me. For you, you use everything you collect.
This is true. I have a very utilitarian
I would have no problem
tendency.
My pursuit in EGOTting these Esterbrook nibs would not be to use all of them a lot. I probably would eventually, but I just want to have them just to have them.
That's true. That ends up being what these Grail nibs kind of are for me. Like I have a custom nib from Ralph Reyes, Regalia nib that is crazy looking, stacked and all this kind of stuff. I forget the official name.
He had one called the Ragnarok. I remember that.
I think I might have a
That one has a lot of cuts in it.
I don't think I have that one. I think I have. I'll have to look it up as to what the name is. But I got that from him, and that was really cool. But I do not like inking that up and using it all the time. I really probably should. So I do have some other ones like that. I've got the Monarch. I've got some of those other, but I don't know if I have any crazy Monty Winfield stuff. But he has done some wild looking nibs. So I'm kind of on board with like any of those. They look all really cool. I like stack nibs. I think it's not just because of the way they write.
Do you own any stack nibs? I don't.
I
do.
The Regalia one is a stack
is
nib.
It?
Yeah,
okay.
I think it's a triple stack.
I own a stack nib from Pensloth.
Okay.
It looks kind of like Batman shape.
Yeah.
Which is really fun.
Yeah. I like it because it's like it's artistic, and I appreciate it because of the craftsmanship. Like, I don't need to write with a stacked nib in my daily writing because they all write super wet and super broad. Like, it's not a daily writing thing so much. But you can, I mean, it does some cool and interesting things, but it's more just like, I appreciate it for what it is, you know? So for me, I put a Pilot Emperor nib. I don't have an Emperor. That's a hole in my collection that I'm sure one day I will fill that.
I mention it all the time.
I know.
When Rachel's around.
I know.
I'm trying to wingman you on this, Brian.
I appreciate the support. We're getting there. But I mean, really, if I like hearts holder on it, okay, I could justify it. But it's like I got enough pens as it is. We can chill.
Wow.
But
do you even belong in this hobby?
I'm trying to be some semblance of, you know, self-control. So that is cool. The Pilot Emperor would be really cool. And then I think my like more wild one would be the Sailor Nagahara King Eagle.
Oh yeah.
So that is a triple stacked, and it just looks really cool. So that would mostly be it. But they are extremely rare. I don't even believe that they're being produced anymore. So.
Oh, he probably does.
I don't know. I don't know
either. I follow him on Instagram, but I don't.
Yeah.
Can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, that's it.
All right.
So let us know which ones you guys are keeping your eyes on too. I mean, we have some pretty wild ones, but we see a lot of nibs. So our taste in Grail Nibs is probably a bit more exotic than your average pen collector, just because of how involved we've been in the community. So yeah, there you go.
All right. Finishing off question number 5 from Jennifer. Jennifer asks, so I want to know, what is the purpose of reverse writing with a nib?
No purpose.
In a lot of fountain pen reviews, from you guys to Doodlebud to Fig Boot, they will provide a writing sample, and they always include reverse writing. But why, guys? I don't understand the purpose of reverse writing. Please explain.
I would probably venture to guess, I don't have any hard data around this, but probably 99%, maybe higher, of fountain pen users are never reverse writing with their nibs on any kind of a regular basis. So I don't think it's actually that common. However, from having been a content creator in the fountain pen space for nigh 15 years now, I can say there's certain things that people ask about all the time. So
is this eyedropperable?
Yes. Exactly. Whether or not it's something that's popular or people even really actually want to do, there's a natural curiosity around what happens if you do this thing. And look, that's great. Like, any engagement, any interest in it, I'm all for. So I would not be surprised. I have no perspective on Doodlebud and Fig Boot because I don't know their personal motivations. I haven't talked to them about it. But as a content creator myself, I can say there's a pretty good chance that they probably just get asked about it so much that they're like, I'm just going to reverse write with it. That way I just don't get that question that I have to respond to every single time I post a review. Because that's definitely what's sort of formed our reviews over time as well. Is like, I mean, it's like you're just responding to questions that get asked. And it's like, if this is something valuable to people, great. You know, it might be the same 3 people that are out there asking this on everybody's reviews, and that's why everybody reverse writes. But I don't think it's actually all that common. But there is a purpose to it. It's not just like completely pointless. The purpose is basically, for most nibs, when they are welding the tip on and then they're grinding it smooth and all that kind of stuff, in the smoothing process, you're essentially broadening the tip ever so slightly. You're rounding it off, so you're going to make it to be that size. But usually the top is not quite as refined. And also the ink isn't going to flow the same through the top of the nib because it's not naturally like where the feed is, and the same like tuning on the inside of the, it's like you have the two halves of the nib and you kind of round out the middle there. The same attention is not being taken on the top. So often you get a little drier flow through the top. So what that means in like at practical use is if you have, say, a broad nib or a medium nib that you're writing with in normal writing, and then you reverse write it, you might get more of a fine or an extra fine like level of ink output. So if you're writing on a really absorbent paper, or just really whatever, you have an ink that like bleeds through really bad on certain papers and stuff like that, in a pinch you can flip the nib over and you can write with it and it won't bleed and feather quite as bad. So that's what I've heard from people that like to have the option to reverse write. I don't think people are like reverse writing for like pages and pages. I think it's like in a pinch they'll do it because the paper, they can't control it. People I know who've had like government jobs and stuff like that, and they're like, these forms that I have to fill out are the most absorbent toilet paper, garbage paper I've ever used in my life, but I don't want to carry around like pens just for this crappy paper. So they're like, when I have to write on that particular form or sign in on this, clipboard, when I enter into this, part of the military base or whatever, they will flip their nib, they'll write with it that way, and then they'll flip it back and go about their business. So I think that's like the more practical use case. But I mean, for us, that's never relevant because we control what paper we use. And so we can always use good paper. And I think most people in like a general office setting kind of have that, but there are more fringe cases where I think that is like an actual kind of legitimate need. Now, the thing with that though is that because the same attention is not taken to like shaping and grinding and smoothing and all that kind of stuff, when you're doing a review of a nib and you're reverse writing it, you can't really say that like the reverse writing is going to be that consistent from one pen to the other. So how helpful is that? In my opinion, not all that helpful. I think it's better just to understand that like, generally speaking, if you have a broader nib and you flip it over, it might write a little finer and maybe a little scratchier too.
Yeah, there are going to be some companies that are able to produce nibs very, very consistently, but most of the time, even between the same nib size from the same brand, you see some variation because, like we've said many times on this channel, there is an element of handwork involved. And whenever that happens, you're talking about a human variable that is going to produce variable results. Yeah.
Now, I will say if you're like really into the reverse writing thing, you actually, I know this is a thing for different like nib professionals. They will often like ask people if they like to reverse write.
Yeah.
And they will specifically tune and smooth it to be a good writing experience, writing upside down like that. But I don't think generally most pen companies are tuning the tops of their nib tipping.
Not in my experience. With my experience, like common. Half of them are grindy, sharp messes.
Yeah, because that's not what they're made for. No. That's not what they're designed.
Most of the time, I don't check. Most of the time, it does not even cross my mind.
Yeah, and that's why I like.
I have not checked with. I've maybe tried it with a quarter of my pens, maybe.
Yeah,
not many.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that like I wouldn't necessarily make a purchase decision off of it, because of that reason necessarily. Kind of sight unseen, but if it happens to work well, then cool. That's the pen that like reverse writes really well, and you can use it for that purpose.
I mean, I buy mostly extra fines anyway, so
yeah. If you're reverse writing an extra fine, then
right. Sometimes with reverse writing, you might get a functioning like smaller version of your labeled stroke, but if you've already got an extra fine, like what are you getting? You might get a really sharp, grindy double extra fine up there. I don't know.
I think most people are buying like mediums and broads and then reverse writing to get more of a fine out of it. So but that's like, that's the thing. When I did some training with Richard Bender, there were some specific grinding techniques he taught that are like basically made for that purpose, like how to actually finish the top of the nib so that it can be kind of like a designated finer size.
Yeah.
Like he even has a grind. I forget the name of the grind that he came up with, but it's one that is, slightly more stubby on the normal side, and then you reverse write it and it's a fine nib. So it's like ends up with sort of like a triangular shape to the tipping. So that's definitely a thing as well, but that's customized. That's a nib grinder. That's not something that most companies are going to offer, but that would be the reason why that people like to do it. So that's it for the questions that we have this week. We have a pen email that you can send email questions to, pencast@gouletpens.com. You can also leave us comments on YouTube community, anywhere in the YouTube video, and we'll eventually see it probably.
Yes.
And then answer the questions. Now we are moving on because we do not have a pen spotlight, but we do have a person spotlight for Ethan, our customer care specialist. So we are going to let you get to know Ethan a little bit, and then we'll do some what's happening.
Hi! I told you we were going to talk to Ethan, and look! We did it. He's here, and we're going to talk to him. I wasn't lying about that. Ethan is right here, right now. Well, not right now to you, but right now to me, because I'm Drew from the past. Who knows what happens to Drew of the future? I hope he's okay. Ethan! Hi!
Hi, Drew.
How are you?
I'm doing well, and you?
I'm good. I'm about to be better, though, because we're going to get to know you.
Yeah.
Everybody there is going to get to know Ethan, so prepare to be known.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah.
Pretty open book, so.
Excellent. Well, that changes things. I'm going to start asking some very invasive questions now. Like, what is your job at the Goulet Pen Company? Ooh.
That's pretty deep. That's pretty deep.
Yeah, get ready.
So I am a customer care representative, customer care specialist, as we like to call it. And I am a customer care specialist too, which means I'm a little bit above when you enter in the customer care department. Got a little bit more responsibility, which is always fun and stressful. But the job itself is a great job, not very stressful at all.
Less stressful than the job you started doing at the company, right?
Oh yeah. Production is where I started here. And that, you got to make sure everything's perfect. Because if not...
So we're talking ink samples, brass sheets,
yeah,
like all that stuff.
Goulet grips, the micro mesh, labeling ink samples, Honestly, it was pretty beneficial at the start, at least, to give me a kind of a basis of knowledge of all the different inks.
And appreciation.
Yeah, there you go, exactly. Kind of know what has to go down in the background to get all those ink samples ready that everyone loves. So definitely big appreciation for Crystal in production and everyone else in fulfillment that helps to label those samples, because that is definitely a big help for her.
And now you get to talk to people. So
I talk to people,
phones, email, live chat. Are we still doing live chat?
Not as much there. A little bit more with phones and emails mostly.
And then all of the, if we get DMs on Facebook, if we get DMs on Instagram, that all runs through customer care as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All the social platforms are kind of, headed by customer care department. We kind of take a look at, Facebook, Instagram, all that sort of stuff. We leave YouTube to you a little bit more.
YouTube doesn't plug into our omni-channel support system.
Not quite. But everything else, Instagram, X, if you want to call it that, Twitter, don't really do as much coming through with that anymore. But
Janaea does a lot of Twitter stuff.
Yeah, she does most of that. She's been doing great, so that's definitely been a big positive for our social media platforms.
Absolutely. What are you currently writing with? Because most of the customer care folks are active writers.
Yeah, we are. We do like to use our pens a little bit, here and there, I guess, if you want to call it that. I have a few different things inked up. Don't necessarily stick by the 3-pen rule, so don't yell at me.
That's fine. I do it for my own sanity. I don't need anybody else to.
Looking at my pens would maybe make you insane, but that's okay. But
maybe you need it.
I keep them.
I'll give you a pamphlet.
I keep them well maintained in terms of I don't let them get too gunky or anything. But always have a TWSBI Eco inked up. How
many of those do you have?
I've got about 3 or 4.
Okay.
Couple 580s. Don't have any VAC 700s, but the VAC isn't necessarily my style. I like the piston,
Yeah.
I find it a little bit easier.
For me, it's just the step. I don't the grip of the VAC. It's just a little funky for me.
Yeah, I like the feel of the
I like the filler. The filler's cool, but
yeah, VAC filler's always cool. It's always fun to watch it as well.
Yeah.
So that's that's good.
Very cool. So you've got how many pens inked up right now?
I did clean a few of them a little while ago. I want to say we'll go with 7. We'll go with
Okay,
7.
that's not crazy.
Not too bad.
No.
Not too bad. But I'd like to try and keep my nicer pens more well maintained. When I'm not using them, I like to. Do you
have a pen that you take the most care of that's like super special to you?
Probably my Vanishing Point and my Pro Gear Slim. Those are my two, because those are my 2 gold nib pens.
Yeah. What color is your Pro Gear?
It's the Sasa. It's the kind of like a turquoisey color, like bluish.
So I
greenish.
wanted to ask you about that, because when we did a video about our favorite pens, you were in that and you talked about your Mint Eco. Yep. And that's not a dissimilar shade to the Sailor that you have.
It's pretty similar. It's
like a light turquoisey teal.
Yeah, I tend to go for, I don't happen to have anything that color on right now, but I tend to veer a little bit more towards the turquoise, teal, light blue. I like a lot of the lighter blues and turquoise colors.
Has that always been a thing? Like, is that just like something that's developed since you've started working with fountain pens, or like are there other things in your life where light blue kind of like spoke to you?
Yeah, it's kind of always been like my favorite color.
Really?
Like, light blue, yeah, it's kind of always been.
That is unique. Like usually people are like, oh, brown, red, blue, green, orange. Like light blue, I don't know if I've ever met anybody who's like light blue is my jam. Like you have like the colleges that are light blue.
Well,
so there's like
like UNC
some
and
yeah,
stuff
like some
that,
people have like a connection in that regard, but VCU, that's a,
Yeah, my first year was at CNU, which definitely isn't light blue. They're more of a kind of a Goulet blue kind of color.
You know what? Brian talked about CNU just recently.
Yeah.
Because he went to see a concert there.
Yeah, at Ferguson Center. Yeah.
Yeah, he went to see the 8-bit big band.
Okay.
He was just talking about that on the Pencast.
Yeah, no, CNU's, beautiful school. My brother actually went there and graduated from there. But
but the light blue thing just...
It's just always been a thing, yeah. Honestly, I kind of like all pastel kind of colors. I don't know, I'm a lighter color kind of guy.
That's really cool.
Light purples and stuff like, even pink,
That is really cool.
I'm not one to hold anything against pink.
Yeah.
So,
so
I like the colors on your shirt, actually, I like that a lot. It's a great shirt.
Oh, absolutely. This goes really well with with the whole Pencast vibe. I've like... People have commented that this is like a really good Pencast shirt.
It's a great shirt.
So, it's a good vibe.
You tend to have some nice shirts. So.
They come my way. They kind of just they happen upon me, and who am I to say no?
Everyone tends to love them, so.
Oh, I love them too. My wife actually has bought most of these shirts for me.
She must love them too.
Like this one I bought from supermassiveshop.com, and a couple of the other ones. But a lot of the times she'll just be like, she'll send me a picture while she's in TJ Maxx or Marshalls, and I'm like,
new shirt?
I'm like, how much is that? She's like, $12.99. Yup.
That's great.
Get it?
Can't beat that.
No.
Especially with how awesome they look. No. Like, come
on. Very cool. All right. So, do you have a favorite fountain pen? Like, whether it's in your collection or just afar that you will one day acquire?
There's always a couple that I like and I would love to have. A couple that are more questionable in the community sometimes. I love the Homo sapiens, honestly. I think that's really cool, the lava material and everything. And when those things are perfect.
When they're perfect, they're perfect.
They are quite perfect. I actually just tested one earlier for a customer, and it was probably one of the best writing ones.
I know. And it's like, you want them all to be perfect. Because when you have a perfect one, it's like.
Why can't they all be like
that?
Right.
It's just like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. It's like a game changer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it really shows you what it should be like.
And that's the thing with Visconti and the Homo sapiens. It's like it continues to be so popular because I think people do know what it can be, and at its best, it's fantastic.
Absolutely.
So
it's a beautiful pen as well.
Yeah, it's a bit. It is a good thing. So if you could snap your finger and have a Grail pen, would you pick one of those up?
Yeah, probably either something from Visconti. I like some of their other looks, regardless of the 18 karat nib. Some of their other pens are pretty cool designs as well, but a lot of the sailors and pilots have been catching my eye as well, especially some of those bespoke sailors. Some of those are really nice. I like along with the color thing, the Rodden look to a lot of the pens. That looks really nice. The blues and purples that you can see when that reflects.
Pilot does not really the only pastel pilot pens I can think of are the Kakunos.
Yeah, they don't do much.
They do have the white barrel with kind of the subdued
cap.
cap.
The cap. Yeah, they don't do much like color on their higher end.
Your face did not tell me that you enjoy those pens. Are you not a... despite the pastel look, you're not a...
I'm just not a Kakuno fan as
What?
much, but
Okay.
that's just because I don't use them. It's not
All right.
nothing against them. I
right.
just don't use them.
Let's get a little real here, Ethan. We were talking yesterday, Brian and I, about some new videos, and I said, I think I should do a video about how the Metropolitan is overrated, and all I'm going to do is just talk about how the Kakuno and the Explorer are better than the Metro. Where do you land on that?
I don't disagree, honestly.
Okay.
I'm not a Metro fan, to be honest.
Okay.
I know that's a little bit of an
so
unpopular opinion.
what starter pen do you recommend to customer? What's like the Ethan go-to, here's what you need to start with?
So, as everyone knows, if you've seen our favorite pen video,
Eco.
There
we
but
go.
other than that, if you don't want to deal with a piston filler, I have a cartridge converter recommendation, don't worry. A Diplomat Magnum.
Okay.
My favorite pen under $30.
All right.
100%. So, definitely if you're willing to spend $25, $26, whatever it's at now. I love the way that pen writes, and it seals well, doesn't dry out or anything like that. Doesn't have a bad look, especially if you go for the prismatic purple one.
I will say it does dry out if you leave it in your cabinet for 6.5 months, because that's exactly what my son did.
I think a lot of pens might be similar in that respect,
Yes.
but for the most part,
Yes,
it
it's a
doesn't
good
dry
pen.
out. If you
It's a
keep
good
up with
pen.
it.
It's a good pen.
But
a
yeah,
good
no,
answer.
it's a great starter pen. So definitely recommend going for that one.
That's a good answer. So about Ethan, you are
It's me.
the only person in this building I can talk to about MMA.
Yeah.
No one else gets it.
I come by your office quite often.
Yes. So like there are a lot of mornings where like we'll just look at each other and be like, what do you think? Because something happened and like we just know that we're both on the Instagrams listening to it and everything like that.
Everything.
So here's my thing. I like watching MMA because I can't pay attention to sports games that go long time. And I need it to be able to end quickly because that keeps me on the edge of my seat. It keeps me focused, knowing that at any point something can. If like I'm just trying to pick football teams, like the Patriots are good traditionally, right? And the Browns are not.
Yeah.
So there's no point in which the Browns could just, after being beat up for a long time, could just instantly win against the Patriots, right? So like that's why
it can't change in an instant
right.
as easily. Yeah.
That's why I like MMA, because no matter what, you can't completely see the ending, no matter how it might appear.
Yeah.
But you do like other team sports, right?
Yeah. No, I'm kind of always been into sports. I mean, I played.
So what's the appeal to MMA for you? Like, if it's because for me, it's like an attention thing. It's
absolutely.
For you, or do you just like all sports?
I like most sports. Most of them I'll watch for the most part, but like you said, I don't always sit down and watch like a whole basketball game or a whole football game or anything like that. I used to sit down and watch with my dad a little bit more in terms of football. Got a little bit into fantasy football and whatnot, stuff like that. Don't do as much now. But MMA in particular, like you said, it's one of the sports that's kind of more exciting at all times. Don't get me wrong. There's definitely still some snoozer.
There's
fights.
some stinkers. Yep.
Yeah, there's definitely still, some that I might go make a cup of coffee or
Definitely.
something else during, go grab some food. But for the most part, I mean, like you said, kind of always on the edge of your seat. You never really know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it can change. I mean, someone could be winning the whole fight. In the last 5 seconds, they get knocked out. And
Yeah.
It's just, you didn't see it coming. I mean, I've seen some crazy odds in terms of betting respects that paint the picture one way, and that's not the way it gets painted.
And you've done a little bit of betting, in your spare time.
Yeah, definitely.
And you're very smart about it. Like, I hear you talk about it, and you're very precise and calculating. And I've bet a few times, and I've just lost horribly. And be like, you know what, this is not for me. I'm just gonna continue losing money. But
that's easy to do.
You know what to pay attention to. You know what to look for.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's can be a pretty steep slope. But if you're measured with your approach, you can definitely kind of have some fun with it. Of course, never want to bet more than what you're willing to lose. That's the main thing.
Well, that's what happened. Like, I think I like added $20 to my wallet or something like that, and it was gone within like 2 weeks, and
yeah,
it just felt like, man, I could have eaten that.
Yeah.
Like, that could have been. That could have been 2 trips to Arby's.
Could have been a bottle of ink, right?
Right? Like, I would have rather had a roast beef.
Yeah, no, that's definitely something you got to think about. Is kind of like, if you need the money for something else, definitely don't recommend.
Yeah,
betting.
I mean, if I was confident enough to turn it into several roast beefs, I
then
definitely would.
So that's the draw
or is
for
it
people.
beeves? Is it like leaf?
I don't know if it's a V or an F.
Roast beeves.
Roast beefs. Whichever, tomato, whichever you prefer. But yeah, no, my brother is someone who I actually talk to as well outside of work, obviously.
Yeah, he's a bit of an MMA head too.
Yeah, he's the one who I tend to watch pretty much every weekend with, and we talk a lot about betting and stuff. He's a little more into the betting side than I am. He's got a little bit more spare change.
He's basically Drake.
Definitely not that level, but yeah, no, he does a lot of research into it and kind of has been paying a little bit more attention into kind of the stats behind it to try and be a little smarter with what he puts down.
I think that's fascinating. Yeah. That's really cool. Another conversation I often hear you having. I'll be in my office, and then I'll hear you going all gearhead talking about cars with Glenn, because we had Glenn over here, and we discovered that he's quite a car nut. But then I hear out of the corner of my eye, I'm like, well, I hear car nut Glenn going into car mode. Who does he go in car mode with? Are you a car guy?
I would say that I am, a little bit of a car guy.
I didn't know this about you up until a couple weeks ago.
I'm definitely no sort of mechanic or anything like that.
But you know what you like.
But I definitely, I know a fair amount about cars, different cars and stuff like that, and I definitely know what I like. I got a new car not too long ago. So.
I hear you talking about like upcoming cars and like things that are just recently launched. Like you must keep up with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I tend to keep an eye on the car market, and I like to keep up with, the newer cars, most definitely, but also just kind of higher end, performance cars are always fun to look at and dream about, so to speak. But
so as we wrap this up, I think that the answer to this is a resounding yes, but all of your team in customer care, you have multiple deep dive hobbies.
Yeah,
right.
I would say so. Yeah. There's no one that's kind of one tracked.
No, and I think that's good, because I think that we have a lot of customers that do that, and I think that that's a good place to be mentally, so that you can help serve the customers well and kind of empathize with where they're at. But I do find that fascinating, because it's not like we hire based on how many, how deep you can go on your hobbies, but just kind of hearing you talk about like, the cars and everything like that. You're definitely in there, and you've definitely got some deep dives for
Absolutely.
sure.
Definitely a little bit more than what meets the eye.
So what do you think? Sports, cars, what's like the third hobby we need to know that Ethan has? Maybe one it could be new, or one you've had a while.
I mean, I do have a couple dogs at home.
Oh yeah, you do. How many do you have? 3 dogs?
So I've got 2 dogs.
2 dogs, okay.
2 dogs.
And they're big dogs too, aren't they?
Yeah, one of them's little under a year and a half old, and she's about 85, 90 pounds.
Yeah, that's a big dog.
She's sizable.
That's a big dog.
Some would say she's large.
I've got corgis, Ethan. My definition
she's a bit
of
bigger than a corgi.
Yes.
The other one is a little bit shorter and stouter. That's Luna. So Luna and Marshmallow. Luna was originally my wife's dog before.
Right.
How
heavy is Luna?
Her. She's about 70 pounds.
That's a big dog too.
Yeah, she's a little stubby. She's a little stubby,
Does Luna need to go on a diet?
Yeah, maybe they'd say that, but she's enjoying life.
Our vet said that that if corgis get overweight, which they can do easily, and this can negatively affect their spine because they're longer dogs, so we need to be careful about that. What we always do is when they get a little chunkier, we'll do half of their normal food and then have green beans, because it's like a 0-calorie food, but it's filling, and that'll take care of it. We'll just need to do that for a couple weeks, and they'll be good, and then we'll go right back to normal food. So I don't know if the green bean magic will work for you, but
it might. I don't know. I mean, they said that Marshmallow, our puppy, if you want to call her that.
Yeah,
not much of a puppy anymore.
Behavior-wise, that's still a puppy.
She's still there. Yeah,
because we've got an almost 2-year-old, and he still acts like a puppy.
Yeah, she's in the teenager phase, as they call it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, they said she's a few pounds overweight. So we've been kind of cutting back on her food a little bit, but we didn't know exactly where she was at weight-wise. So we had to kind of hone in on exactly how much we were feeding her. But she's a great dog. They're both
Is she picky about food at all?
No, not really. The other one is actually, funny enough.
Yeah?
Luna's a little more picky about what she likes, because we've tried to feed her things, like strawberries, various fruits and things. She won't eat it. She's very particular. She needs things bite-sized, and she needs to know how it tastes before she puts it in her mouth, which doesn't make sense because she'll put it in her mouth and spit it out, but then she'll realize if she bites into it, then it's got some more flavor.
Oh,
so
like a strawberry. Strawberry doesn't taste like anything.
Yeah, the
until you bite
outside
it.
of it's, you know, kind of.
Yeah.
But once you get in, you know, the strawberry juices.
Oh, wow.
It's got some flavor.
Is that challenging for like giving her pills and stuff?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
She's a little more picky about that. Marshmallow's a little more kind of just, you know, I'll take it, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't care. So she's, you got to work around it for both of them. But
that can be a challenge. Like,
Yeah,
this
it
is
can.
for your own good. you
Yeah,
know?
they're children, as we like to call them.
Yeah,
they're our
100%.
children. So
100%. Like when we before we had our kid, having the responsibility of knowing like you just can't go out of town. You know, you have to be home at a certain time. You are caring for something that will die without you. Like it's a lot of similarities.
they let you know they need you when you're home. So
Yeah.
that's for sure.
And in a lot of ways, they're you know, they follow the same rules. Like logic just doesn't work with them.
Nope. Can't talk to them.
No, and
I mean, you can talk, but they won't
They're
talk
pretty
back.
darn representative of that first 2 years. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Ugh, I tell you what.
You get to know their personality. That's for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, all right. Real quick, one more thing.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? Either answer me your favorite place to vacation or your favorite type of music. Which one's more? What's more Ethan unique? Which answer? Tell me that one.
Probably the music one. I mean,
What's your favorite type of music?
Vacation spot's easy. Music, I'm more of a kind of a hip hop rap kind of guy.
Yeah?
Which people don't
Do
necessarily
you
peg
like
me
modern
as,
hip hop or like old school hip hop?
You know, a little bit of both.
Yeah?
Honestly, I can appreciate all kinds of music, but I can definitely appreciate, you know, the older hits, if you will. You know, I grew up with my dad listening to rock and roll and kind of exposing me to a lot of different things that he grew up listening to.
Yeah.
So my brother and I always kind of had a
You can go back to those roots if you need
variation in music. Yeah, oh, yeah, you
to.
know.
Nice. Have you
always.
seen any live events in the last couple of years?
Not particularly. No.
Neither have I.
I have seen Jason Derulo in the past,
I don't know who that is.
but that wasn't necessarily my choice.
Is that a hip hop artist?
Yeah, he's
Okay.
a pop artist.
Okay. Hip hop?
Hip
Is that a thing?
Hip hop. Hey, some people kind of ride the border between the two.
Yeah.
Hip hop and pop. So.
That's kind of become a thing recently.
Yeah.
Those lines have been more blurred in the last
a
like
lot
10
of lines
years.
have been more blurred in the music industry in terms
Yeah.
of genres.
Yeah.
A lot of people are kind of mixing it up and changing it up. So
Yeah.
definitely something that's unique.
interesting.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, Ethan, thank you so much for
Yeah.
sitting down with us and joining the Pencast audience for this week.
Absolutely. Thank you
And
for having me.
Y'all can literally talk to Ethan whenever you want. How great is that?
I've probably talked to some of you.
Oh, absolutely. You have info@gouletpens.com. Ethan's there waiting for you, eager to talk to you.
Ready to help out.
Yes.
Whatever you need.
Ask him how Marshmallow's doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
She's always doing something. So I'll give you an update. I'll give
Awesome.
you an update.
Thank you, Ethan.
Absolutely. Thank you, Drew.
Back to you, Brian and Drew.
All right. There's Ethan. Thank you, Ethan. Thank you, Drew, for putting
You're
it
welcome.
together. All right. Hope now you get to know a little bit more of the team, and we'll keep it coming because y'all seem to enjoy it, as does our team. So, Drew, what is happening?
Well, let's see. What happened? A weekend took place. Oh, I bought some new patches.
Ooh,
Finally bought some new patches. Yeah, got 3
for the
new
jacket.
patches.
I thought you were all out of room on the jacket.
Well, I'm being pretty choosy because my space is limited.
Uh-huh.
My wife brought up the fact that I did not have any Disney patches, which she was very offended by.
Interesting. Yeah,
So
I didn't think about that.
There's a when you go to the monorail stations at any Disney parks, there's a little picture of a monorail, a little double-sided monorail.
Yeah.
I found a patch that has that little icon, little monorail icon,
Nice.
and it's thin, it's horizontal, so that can go in one of those harder to reach spots. So I got that. I got a stack of hearts in the colors of a rainbow, little ally thing, and so that's vertical. So I put that in a hard to reach spot, kind of in the middle between two seams. And then I've got another one coming in the mail. It's actually 4 different patches, but they're very small. They're like the size of quarters.
Okay.
And those I can kind of fill in gaps there. They're from the Witcher video game series. They're kind of like earth, wind, fire, water things, but they correspond to like different powers he has. Like, you know, there's there's a push thing, like a force push. There's like a fire thing. So they all rep like Igni, Irden, Quen, and what's the other one? Anyway, so those I'll be able to kind of flex in. So I did. Good point. I did consider that.
I was gonna say, yeah.
I don't know if I
It's
can.
getting tight on there.
It is getting tight. It is
Unless
getting
you
tight.
want to replace any. That is always an option.
It is. I can't think of any that I would replace, but everything's sewn on, so I have that option if I want to. Nothing needs to be unironed.
Yeah.
So that's a thing.
You know what else you could do? You could put patches on the inside just for you.
No, because then I have to sew through the jacket, and then you'll see the...
I know, that would be kind of weird.
Yeah.
You could iron them on the inside if you wanted to.
I guess I could.
Because that'd
be really comfortable.
Just for you.
So this weekend on Saturday...
Sorry, isn't there... So you were mentioning about the Disney thing.
Yeah.
I was like, isn't there one of the 101 Dalmatians? Its name is Patch, I think.
Yes. That was my favorite when I was a kid.
What if that... See, I'm thinking if you wanted to be like kind of a smart aleck to your wife, you could be like, look, I got a Disney patch on my jacket. You could just get the patch.
Patch. It'd be a patch.
Anyway, that's dumb. That's what I would do.
I had a plush.
Did you?
When I was a
plush
kid.
Patch?
Yep, I did.
That was one of Rachel's favorite Disney movies growing up, 101 Dalmatians.
I didn't super care for it, but I had the dog. I had Patch. Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah, it was fine.
I remember
didn't rewatch it a lot.
What was your favorite Disney movie growing
Robin
up?
Hood.
Robin Hood, that's right.
Yeah.
I don't know why I had to ask you that.
Yeah, easily. So,
okay.
So this weekend was the Royal Rumble on WWE.
Of course.
So,
I mean, everybody knows that.
For the first time since probably 2003, 2004, I had a friend come over and watch wrestling.
No way.
Brandon.
Did you wear a wrestling shirt?
I don't have any wrestling shirts
anymore.
Oh, no,
come on. You didn't keep any of them?
I should. No, I didn't keep any. But he came over. He brought some dip. We just ate nachos and watched wrestling.
Wow.
It was a great time.
How about that?
Yep.
Okay.
The Royal Rumble is an easy one to jump into because you don't really need to know who's feuding with who or whether or not who's a bad guy, who's a good guy. Because they just, every 3 minutes, you hear an alarm go off and a new wrestler comes to the ring and they just all, wrestle around and and they get eliminated by being thrown over the top rope.
Oh.
So you're like, oh no, he went under, and like, oh no, he's gone. Oh no, somebody hits him in the back and he comes back over. So this whole, so it's very easy to understand, you can, and it's so chaotic. You always have something to look at.
Yeah.
There's no like lulls or, dramatic moments.
You're not really having to follow a storyline of any
none
kind.
at all.
Yeah.
None at all. So that was fun. It was a great time. And the whole thing is like the winner of the Rumble gets to main event at WrestleMania, the big annual event.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, it's WrestleMania 40 this year. So because we were born the first WrestleMania, so
wow,
I always get to remember that. Like, hey, it's gonna be WrestleMania 40. I'm like, oh, cool.
Cool. I'm gonna be 40.
Crap. Yeah. So there's that. But I watched and then the great thing is you don't have to pay for them anymore. If you have Peacock, they're free. So
well, there you go.
Yeah.
Because it used to be pay-per-view stuff, right?
Yeah, I remember
it was like $40 or something.
Yeah, back in the day, you'd have to. I don't know. My mom bought them all for us, but we'd call the number and be like, "Mom, please, can we get this one?" She's like, "Fine." She'd give us her card, and we'd call the number and hit the buttons.
Wow.
So back when the cable box was just that box with like the red number on the top.
Oh yeah, I had one of those cable boxes.
Heck yeah, man.
Back in the day.
Yep, and you'd have to wait for the TV Guide channel so you could find out what channel the pay-per-view was on, and you'd have to order it from that channel.
Wow.
I want to say it was 61 with us, or 59, I don't know.
Okay.
So we did that. I watched my first 4K Blu-ray disc, because I've started to buy some of those.
Okay.
I watched Aquaman, which I know is not understood to be a very good movie. I love it. I think it's a super fun movie, and it looks amazing. There's a fight scene that takes place, on an Italian coastal town, in an Italian coastal town. And it's fascinating because it's a crazy fight scene with explosions and big punches through walls and, lasers blasting and water. But it's in just bright light. And watching it, you're like, what the heck? This looks weird and unique. And you realize like a lot of action scenes are...
It's like super dark.
Yeah, they're not like...
Like, what's up with that?
They're not super brightly lit. This one is like in the bright Italian coastal sunshine, and it just looks really cool as a result of that. Now, it would look bad if the CG was terrible, but it's not. This is Aquaman's got some solid CG. I mean, it's wacky, but one of my favorite things though is Patrick Wilson in that movie, because the acting in the movie is like it's fine, but Patrick Wilson is excellent. And I don't know if you've seen him. He was in The Watchmen. He was in oh god, what was that creepy movie he was in? He's fantastic in everything he does, but he plays a character literally named Ocean Master, and he's like, "Call me Ocean Master." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I will do that, Patrick. Thank you." Yeah, he does. I'm like gonna watch the second one, which I hear is even worse. But like I hear Patrick Wilson's awesome, so I'm like, all right, I'm here. Love that
Is
guy.
he like your new Michael Biehn?
No. Walton Goggins is the new Michael Biehn.
Oh, okay.
Patrick Wilson's awesome though. So did that. Played some more God of War. I played a little bit of Xbox 360 with my son. We played Portal 2 co-op, so that was fun.
Okay.
Had dinner with friends on Sunday. We went over to Josh and Jeffrey's house, and Josh and Steven made this crazy like Asian bowl situation where you could, they had pork, they had salmon, rice, all these they did some kimchi stuff, I think. They did these pickled radishes. It was just a ton of stuff you could put in a bowl, and man, they're so good. They have so much fun cooking, and we just bring some grocery store cupcakes or something. I always feel like, man, we don't deserve these friends, but they keep inviting us, so hopefully they don't figure it out that we're
Maybe you bring
terrible.
something else to the table.
I told Shannon, I'm like, we gotta up our game. Like we gotta do something.
You gotta earn it.
But honestly, the great thing about them is they're like, could you please go by Publix and get a chocolate pie from the U-Crops chocolate pie? You ever had one of those? They love that. If we bring one of those with a can of whipped cream, they are happy as can be. So
There you go.
sometimes we just do that.
Match made in heaven there.
Yeah, no, I'm very thankful for them though. Shannon went to a Costco run, and this has happened to me a couple times where the spouse is over at Costco and then I get the call and she's like, hey, there's a deal. How do you feel about replacing all of our dishes? Like, I don't know. Is that a thing? Does that happen to anybody else? Because
I'm sure.
sometimes the Costco deal like is a good deal, but you still need to consult with the other half.
Well, especially something like dishes. That's like...
Well, we've been wanting new dishes because
Yeah.
they're all chipped. And we got them at Pier 1 probably 8 years ago, and they're not in the best shape. So she found this set. It was 8 settings, pasta bowl, regular bowl, little plate, big plate,
Yep.
and then a bunch of little tiny bowls, $79.99.
Wow.
And no mugs. Did not come with mugs. Because I'm like, I don't need mugs.
Or like teacups or
I don't need a
something,
bunch of matching mugs. I have my own mugs. They're cooler. For $80, I'm like, okay, you know what? And they're bone china. I'm like, this is something. I was like, yeah, go for it. So we got new dishes.
Hey.
So we replaced them all.
Nice.
Great thing was when I put them in the cabinet, go to shut the door,
Oh, did it just not close?
it just hits the edge of the big plate.
Come on.
It's like a centimeter, Brian.
my
I
gosh.
know. I couldn't believe it. I was like, God. I mean,
You can't do anything about
no.
that.
What are we gonna do? And all of them are the same
man.
size. So
Yeah.
luckily, you can't really see it unless you're standing at the sink and look to your left. But so what I think I'm gonna do is probably just how they have little rubber bumpers on them. I think I'm just gonna stack a couple bumpers on each other so that the bumper hits the cabinet before it hits the dish.
Are your cabinet doors, are they inset into the cabinet, or are they proud of the cabinet itself?
Yeah, they're not inset.
So you may be able to, depending on what type of hinges you have, you might be able to adjust the hinges so that they come proud a little bit more, and then you could put those little bumpers on, and then you would still have a gap, but it would be like an even gap, and you wouldn't notice it as much. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe I might do that,
Yeah.
but that was just kind of
That's
funny.
so annoying.
I know.
I thought dishes. Well, I guess they're not all a perfectly standard size, because
Yeah.
cabinets are generally a pretty standard size. So it's why would
Maybe
you?
I think these were the original cabinets. The house was built in '85, so I think they've been there for a while.
Sounds like you just needed to make all new cabinets.
We hate our cabinets. We would love that. In the corner of our kitchen, Brian, we've got 2 tiny little narrow cabinets that you can fit some things vertically in. Like one of them, we just have pot lids.
We got a couple of those.
But it's in the counter. I don't know why they didn't just do the whole swivelly thing. Those things that have the spinny dudes. Why not that? We've got all that space in there. Nothing else is in there.
So you don't have any swivelly things. So it's just wasted space in the corner?
Yeah, as far as I know,
And
unless
you got
there's
2
something
narrow
secret
little
in
things?
there. I don't know.
Secret cabinet.
It seems like a missed opportunity.
Interesting.
It drives us nuts.
I think
And we've got no place for a microwave, so we haven't had a microwave in 4 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's dumb. It's fine though. Anyway, we bought our Disney tickets, so our Disney trip is ready.
It's happening.
It's happening.
All right.
We bought our tickets. I had to call, and it took an hour, but whatever.
Call.
Yeah, I had some
Who calls?
me because I'm a fool. But that is all taken care of, so we are ready to go. All we need to buy is food while we're there, and we're set. So
Wow.
all
right.
that is done.
It's happening.
And then today something kind of crazy happened. My dad called me right after we got out of our meeting, so I ducked into the conference room because I'm something's wrong. I don't talk to my dad very much. I see him maybe twice a year.
Yeah.
So he calls me. I'm like, oh God, someone died. And I was like, hey, what's up? He's like, hey, you have some time? I'm like, I mean, no, I'm just sounds quiet. I'm like, yeah, well, I just ducked into a conference room. What's up? He's like, I was just wondering if I could bring you some coffee. I'm in the area. And I'm like,
You're like confused.
yeah, I'm super confused. I'm like, like, and he's like, well, unless you don't have time. I'm like, no, I mean, in my mind, I'm like, what do you mean time? Like, do you want to talk? Like,
Right.
And he's like, I can just, meet you outside. I'm like, okay, no, yeah, absolutely. Yes, please. Thank you. That's amazing. Like, it just totally caught me off guard. Like, he's never done anything like that, but it was awesome. It was a delight.
So just literally brought you coffee?
Well, yeah, he asked me what I wanted. I said Americano with cream. He brought it by. We sat in the, parking lot.
Oh, I thought you meant like he got like some ground coffee.
No,
or something
he just
like,
wanted to bring me
literally
a cup of coffee.
a coffee.
Just a coffee. He was in the area picking up some documents because he had actually broke his ribs a couple weeks ago. Fell down the stairs. Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of major.
Yeah. And I was wondering, I kept on asking him, like, so how'd you turn around? He's like, I didn't. It hit me in the back. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, ribs are in the back too. I forgot about that.
Yeah, they kind of go all around,
Stupid.
I guess. Yeah.
Oh, man. But yeah, no, he's okay. I could hug him without hurting him. So that was
okay.
That was good. But yeah, it was like super pleasant. I was like, all right.
About that?
Yeah. I've actually seen him more in the last year than I had in like the last 10 years. So
how about that?
Yeah. I was like, okay, I'll take it. Let's do this thing. So
coffee is definitely your love language.
It is. It is. He was joking about how he gets all like bougie when he goes to Starbucks because he's just a black coffee guy, always has been. Yeah. But when he goes to Starbucks, he gets like fancy drinks.
I mean, if you're gonna go,
that's what I told him. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that just happened today, and that was noteworthy.
Okay.
So
neat.
Yeah.
All right. Good to know.
That's it.
Oh, cool. Well, you have had, I guess, more event. I don't know. I was going to say it's been more eventful, but actually I did fewer things, but my things were a little crazier.
Oh.
Maybe not surprisingly.
All right.
Well, Joseph.
Crazier than my Costco dishes.
A little crazier.
I don't believe it.
Yeah.
Did I tell you that they came with little small bowls? Because maybe you missed that part.
I like the small bowls.
I filled it with cheese balls
yesterday. Small as in like
was...
short or small as in like
small as in
diameter?
Small, both. Oh. We're talking like the perfect amount of like cheese balls.
Or like not quite small as ramekin.
Kind of ramekin size.
Ramekin size.
Yeah, but they're round. They're the bowls.
Okay.
So great for cheese balls while you're watching Community, which is what I used it for yesterday.
Okay.
All right. So you try to top that.
We'll let the community decide.
All right.
So Joseph had his birthday last week. So
Happy birthday, Joseph.
I now officially have a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old.
Oh, my God.
And you and I both are turning 40 soon.
What?
And that is becoming very real. You're not feeling like the youngest kid on the block anymore.
No, I had a Nerf gun with my son this weekend. And
did you pull something?
Oh, I was already in pain. My back was hurting. But I had already told him the day before that I promised him that, because I already pulled the I don't feel great card. I'm like, I'm tired because, I was vacuuming and stuff because I knew Brandon was coming over. Didn't want the house to look terrible.
Yeah, but that's like real. Like, I'm tired.
I'm like, no, I'm tired
from life.
So then next day shows up and my back's killing me. He's like, Nerf, you told me. I'm like, ugh. So in my mind, I'm like, maybe it'll feel better afterwards.
That always works, right? Yes, shenanigans with your kids definitely makes you feel more youthful and healthy, right? Wow. Yeah.
So you feeling 39.9?
I'm feeling it. Yeah. So I don't know. Like we're not at the age where it's like, let's go to the bowling alley and have a bunch of little kids over. It's like, no, these are like teenagers.
Yeah. What do you do?
Full on teenagers. Well, it's more like we're helping him plan his party, not we're planning our party for him.
Oh.
So we're like, with both our kids, we're sort of transitioning into that, like, well, what do you guys want to do? Because like, I'm not going to do like, what am I going to like, I don't know, do balloon animals and, have pin the tail on the donkey, like piñatas. And I'm like, no, they're kind of like aging out of that. So, Ellie was a lot, she turned 12, last month, and she had a whole thing and had a sleepover and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so that was very successful. It was a lot, but it was successful. And Joseph took inspiration from that. So he also wanted to have a bunch of people over and do a sleepover, but that's kind of where he stopped in the planning process. So, we talked about that for like a couple of months. And then it's like, I've been a 14-year-old boy, so I know generally, not everybody's the same, but he's genetically similar to me. And, it was very much like, okay, Joseph, like, have you told anybody about this party yet? Because, like, it's like 3 weeks away. It's like 2 weeks away. It's like next week. Have you told anybody you want to do this yet? So it was like kind of the week before. Before he like really told everybody. So we're like getting texts from various parents and they're like, hey, we don't know you, but whatever, it's like, because we have to coordinate it through him because like it's his friends and we don't really know them. It's all friends through school. So it's just a different dynamic now.
Yeah.
Like it's not us primarily coordinating everything. We're having to like work through him. And that was its own challenge.
But it got done?
So it got done.
All right.
Successful. Everybody got to the place and a sleepover was had. So he had a little co-ed party to start and then it became non-co-ed for the sleepover.
How much food did you have left in the house?
Well, that was interesting. So honestly, credit to Rachel for planning most of this because Rachel's really good at that. So we got like a chicken nugget tray and she looked at the estimate of like how many people it would feed. And, to her credit, like I didn't super detailed look at all of this until like the day of the party. So I'm going to like pick up this nugget tray and I look at it and I'm like texting her. I'm like, Rachel, how many nuggets did you say this is supposed to feed? Because I'm like, there's like 10 or 11 14-year-olds at this party. And she was like, it said it's going to feed 15. And I was like, we did not get enough chicken nuggets. Like 15? No way. Like, I don't know what serving size they're going with, but it's not 14-year-olds. I'll tell you that much. So
do you know how many servings is in one serving of cheese balls, by the way?
Oh, and like one of those big tubs?
Just a serving size of cheese balls.
Oh, is it like 11 cheese balls
37.
37?
One serving.
That's a serving?
Yeah, man.
I mean, they're all mostly air.
Dude, I felt so healthy last night. I'm like, this is probably like 20. Look at me showing restraint.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm sure you tell yourself that.
I did. I am.
Yeah. So anyway, Rachel grew up with her and her sister. She did not grow up with teenage boys in the house. And so I was like, oh, yeah, Rachel, we need to. I mean, to be fair, I could have like ordered more and all that kind of stuff, but it was really crowded. And I was like, whatever, we'll figure it out. So I just told Rachel, I was like, we need to let these kids eat this. And like, you and I are not going to have any nuggets as like a buffer.
Yeah.
We didn't eat any nuggets and they all still got devoured immediately.
What'd you do?
We just scabbed. I mean, we had other food. We had chips. We had all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
Everybody got nuggets, but we didn't. So we ate like leftover pizza and stuff out of the fridge, and I was just like, yeah, when it comes to like planning, but then we bought all these chips and stuff and they didn't really go for that as much. So it's like, you get this like groupthink things that happens with teenagers sometimes where like, one of them starts eating something and they're all just like, they're like animals and they just like pick it clean like vultures.
Like Langoliers.
Yeah. And then you're like, well, I bought all these other things and like nobody touched any of that. So it's like, I guess we have like friggin', 30 bags of, individual Doritos and Cheetos and stuff like that. Joseph's really happy about that, actually. So,
I need to ask you something about Doritos. May I?
Please.
The other day, I was at this office.
Okay.
In the kitchen.
Okay.
Brandon, who has been a guest on the Pencast before, comes in and starts talking to me about cold Doritos in the freezer. And I'm telling him that that's silly. And he's like, no, you don't ever like go out, you're cutting the grass, you want to just come in and have a nice cold snack? I'm like, yes, but not chips.
Potato chips, yeah.
And then Ethan comes in and he's like, oh, you talking about cold Doritos? I'm like, wait, what? And then...
Is this a thing?
And then he brings me some because, he's insisting that it's a thing. And he brings me some. He puts them in the freezer. He brings me some in my office. He's like, here, you need to try this. And then Brian K. shows up. He's like, oh, cold Doritos? I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I'm like, just...
I can't even say it's like a generational thing because like Brandon is our age.
It seems like a bizarre dream. Like, oh yeah, honey, the other day I had this dream that I was like at work and Brandon was talking about cold Doritos. Right. Doesn't that seem like a weird dream?
That does.
But it was real and they were saying it. And I'm like, okay, I had a chip. It was good. It was cold. It held the cold better than I thought it would. But why are you coming inside to refresh yourself with chip?
That is kind of weird.
So you've never heard of that?
No.
Okay.
It's the first I've heard of it.
Thank you. All right, I just wanted to make sure that I'm not completely losing my mind because it seems like everybody back there was like, oh yeah, cold Doritos. Like,
good question for you all.
Yes, please.
Is cold Doritos a thing and we're just not aware of it? Or is this like new to you all too? I don't know.
I'm sorry. As soon as you said Doritos, that just hit me like a ton of bricks because I'd be like, I was so flustered by that.
I did hear, I don't know how true this is. This is like one of those things that like my kids watched a YouTube video and then told me about it. So I'm like, I don't know if that's actually true, but I don't care enough to verify it. But I heard that Doritos actually were created at Disney World or Disneyland, that they like basically had some like chips that had gone stale or something. So they just poured a bunch of seasoning all over it and fried them or fried them and then poured seasoning over them. And then that's like became a thing. I forget what restaurant it was.
That sounds plausible.
But then like that essentially turned into Doritos somehow. I don't know how that story translates.
Okay.
I guess I wasn't paying that close of attention.
Well, you kind of admitted
whatever.
as much.
Is that a thing? I don't know. I don't even care to look it up.
All right. So do you have a lot of leftover Doritos at home?
I think so.
All right. There you go.
Joseph's gonna put those away.
Put some in the freezer. Tell me how it goes.
You know, that seems like the kind of things my kids would be into. They put all kinds of weird stuff in the freezer. You know, they're like,
Brandon puts weird stuff in the freezer. He got Pop-Tarts out of the freezer the other day. And he's just bringing them back there. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, frozen Pop-Tart.
I would think Pop-Tart would hold the cold pretty well because you got like jelly in there or whatever.
I guess, why do you want cold stuff? I don't get it. I don't know.
I like cold stuff. I'm a very warm person.
Yeah.
So I like cold things. Like in the summertime, I have to keep those like flavor ice, like popsicle things in the tube. I have to keep those in the freezer.
I destroy those.
If I like take the trash outside and then come back in, I'm sweating.
I love those things.
And I need ice in my body.
But I tell you, one thing
down.
I'm oddly particular about is I always insist that Shannon get the unfrozen ones because I like to set them up right in my freezer
100%.
So that there's room to clip without getting your scissors all nasty and sticky with it. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
What are you doing if you're not doing that? I never buy them frozen. Unless you're like in an emergency situation, like I'm out of stock. I need them immediately. Then I'll do that.
Very nice.
No.
All right, well, go home, put some of those things in the freezer or the fridge, and let me know how it goes.
That's one of those things. We're so off on a tangent; it doesn't even matter. But that's one of those things that like I had some as a kid, but then I tried it again as an adult, and I was like, "This is great. I'm going to keep doing this." And then I didn't really think about the fact that my kids would also like pick up on that. So not so much Ellie, but Joseph, he just pounds those things.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I guess I do the same thing. So now it's like, it's like Fresca. I got back into Fresca. So now I buy a pack of Fresca and I get like 3 of them and then the whole pack is gone. And I'm like, daggone it. It's like inflation.
I always get 2. I sit down, I drink my coffee at night, and then I go get 2 Freezy Pops.
Okay.
Clip them both, set one in my coffee mug, my empty coffee mug, and I eat the first one. But I always pick 2. One where I love the juice, one where I like the flavor but don't love the juice. Like blue, like the flavor, don't want extra juice of the blue.
No, okay.
But purple, red, absolutely good juice. So that one I save for second because it does get a little melty while I'm eating the first one.
Okay.
So the second one is always the one that I like the best.
Okay.
That's my system.
That is a very specific system.
Yes, sir.
It's on brand for you.
There we go.
I will eat them usually 2 at a time. I'll keep them joined together. And I'll just snip the top.
What?
And I'll kind of go back and forth, and I'll kind of work up one or the other.
It's like a pan flute.
Yeah. I have like a pan flute of icy pops. And I'm not joking. I can put down like a dozen or dozen and a half, in an evening.
That's amazing. I also like to clip them a little bit at a curve so that I don't have sharp edges on the
you got to trim those edges off.
My man,
Yeah,
I knew I liked you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I know
You're talking about extra food.
What were we talking about? Yeah.
Doritos, extra
party.
food at the party.
So party, all was good. We didn't plan anything super heavy, but they're teenagers and they had fun. And I think they got maybe an hour and a half of sleep. So they stayed up super duper late, and that's okay because everybody knew. We talked to all the parents too, and they're like, "Yeah, we know that's what they do." And we're like, "Cool, okay, we're not bad parents. It's just what they do."
Yep.
Because I wasn't gonna stay up all night and like make sure they went to sleep.
No.
Whatever.
No.
They were in the house. They were contained. They were safe. It's all good. But I will say, Joseph had a friend who I'd never met this friend before, who was a Rubik's Cuber.
Uh-oh.
And so he had his own cube, and I was like, "What you got there?" And
what you rolling with?
Well, actually, the way that it happened is like, so yeah, exactly. I have puzzles kind of just like strewn about the house. Like my kids used to leave socks everywhere. Well, I have puzzles just scattered about. So he was finding like little Easter eggs, finding my puzzles all over the place. And, I was kind of like, "Oh yeah, so he's like kind of messing with my puzzles." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I've got more than." He was like, "Do you have a this? Do you have a that?" And I was like, oh,
oh
just
no.
You wait. So I brought down this like bin of like 30 different puzzles. And he was going nuts having them, and he was like, oh, he's like, I need to lubricate my cube because he's done like competitions and stuff like that. He's like, do you have any, lube? And I was like, yep, I do.
You got some
He's
cube
like,
lube?
A cube lube.
Nice.
And he's like, do you like this kind or whatever? And I was like, well, I get it from this other place. And it's kind of, so we were like talking cube lube and all this kind of stuff. I was like, I've never had this level of interaction with another human being about puzzles.
That's amazing.
Like somebody that actually knows. And I was like, it's kind of weird. It's like, here's this 14-year-old kid that I'm like connecting with about this. But it's just interesting too, to like hear his perspective as a 14-year-old and all that kind of stuff. So that was kind of neat. And a bunch of other, like we had the puzzles out and a bunch of others, our friends were all,
all the best cubers in the world are like, more than half your age anyway. So.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like by our age, our reflexes are not fast enough to even try to compete. Plus we just don't have the time. But anyway.
I can't even avoid hitting my head on that light right there. Like there's no such thing as reflexes anymore.
I know, right? So that was fun, getting to geek out on puzzles with somebody that actually cared.
That's
which
kind of
is
amazing.
New.
I love that.
Yeah, and knew what I was talking about. And then the other big thing that happened, I have my own age-related stuff. I had some like pain in my stomach, and I was like, what is this? And had to go see a doctor, all that kind of stuff. It's not a thing.
Fun.
This stuff that happens. And I think about, do you know the Holderness family? Have you followed them at all?
No.
Kim and Penn Holderness. So they do a lot of like neurodivergent type stuff. So he's got ADHD, she's got anxiety.
It's like a YouTube channel?
They have a YouTube channel, yeah. But they've done all kinds of stuff. They did The Amazing Race. They actually won The Amazing Race a couple of years ago. But anyway, they do all kinds of great content, very family friendly as well. But we've been following them for years. And Penn Holderness, he's probably late 40s, mid to late 40s. So he's a little older than us, but he was talking about his $10,000 poop. So basically he had this like stomach pain. He had all this stuff. He got all these things, saw the doctor, all this kind of stuff. Basically, it turns out he was constipated and just needed a good dump.
So is the $10,000 like
all the medical tests and the bill,
gosh.
like all that kind of stuff? Yeah, he thought because he thought sharp pains and all this kind of stuff. He thought it was hernia. I thought it was like all these other things, more serious stuff.
God.
Turns out no, he just needed a good dump.
I guess that's good, but geez, after
I know.
all that,
but it's just like. So I had my own instance kind of that this weekend. I'm just like, it wasn't obviously anywhere near that extreme, but it was just like, I was just doing my thing and I was like, I'm having weird pain. That's great. And the 40 thing is on my mind a lot. And I'm like, yeah, getting the age now where weird pain is
as long as you don't have
very present.
Some sort of xenomorph burst through your chest, I think you're doing all right.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
It's yet to be determined. But anyway, so part of what maybe brought on some of that pain, we had beautiful weather this weekend. Like it's been cold and crappy and awful. And then this weekend it was like in the 60s, bright sunshine. It was gorgeous.
Was it? I stayed inside and played video games almost all weekend.
Well, for those of us that ventured outside, it was amazing. I was like, and there's no bugs because it's the middle of winter. I was like, this is sublime.
I have thought that a few times. I'm so, I hate summer.
It was awesome. Yeah. So I was like, okay. And it was so funny. I got to tell this story because Rachel grew up, her family's not nearly as like direct as my family is. So a lot of times when something needs to be done, it'll be like a suggestion that's kind of like put out there into the world.
It'd be nice if somebody did this,
or it's even more general than that. It's like, the trash is full. The mail's here. And it's just like, do you want me to go get the mail? So like I grew up in a very direct family.
Well, they're also from like Connecticut, so they've got a little bit more of a...
My family, they're all from New England.
So they've got a little bit more of a...
Yeah, pretty much like if we want you to do something, we're going to tell you
go
do it. Yeah, so that's what I grew up with. So like when Rachel was like dropping these hints and stuff, I was just like, what are you doing? Like, or I would just like totally whiff and not pay attention to it at all. And then she'd get mad and I'd be like, what are you talking about? She'd be like, I asked you to do this, 30 minutes ago. I'm like, no, you didn't. And so I was like, okay, look, if this is going to work, this was like 2 months into our relationship when we were 17. I was like, look, the way that this is going to have to work, I was like, if you want something, you just got to tell me straight up. And that might feel weird, but I'm not going to take it personally. Just ask and I'll do it. So that's how we do things. But she did the biggest thing. So she's also known in her family for being like, she had this thing where when they had their family dinners growing up, if she needed to like, I don't know, get a drink or something like that, she would just kind of like wait until somebody else was going up to get something And then she'd be like, hey, while you're up, can you get me a drink? You know, and that was like, it's like an inside joke in her family as the while you're up. She doesn't do that anymore. Every now and then she'll try to sneak it in. But she did like the biggest while you're up suggestion for me. So this is like Saturday morning. The weather was going to be beautiful. So she goes, oh, it's really nice outside today. Are you going to like do any projects outside? And I was like, I don't know. I didn't, you know, I guess I could. Like, it's really
It's
nice
a day
out
that ends
there.
with Y.
Yeah. She was like, okay. She's like, well, if you're going outside anyway, the trash needs to be taken out. So can you do that when you do it? I was like, whoa, this is at like 9 o'clock in the morning. I hadn't had my coffee yet or anything. And I was like, wow, that is a while you're up ask of like I was like, Rachel, like 2 hours from now, I'm not going to remember that you asked me to take the trash out. Like, I'll just go do it right now.
No.
And then I did, and it was done, and it was fine.
There was a moment, I don't know if it was this weekend or last, but Shannon was having some problems, and I sat down with her and just started helping her talk through it. And I, did that thing where I just yap long enough until something good comes out, and something good came out. And she was like, I so very appreciate your emotional intelligence, Drew. I really that's really something. She went up, she took a shower, came back down, asked me to go out to the car to get her her rehearsal bag and then her cup. And I come out, I go out there, get her bag and bring it back. And cup? What cup? And she's like, what about the cup? I'm like, huh? What cup? She's like, I just rehearsal bag in the cup, because she wasn't, she didn't have her shoes on or anything.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I don't remember you saying that. She's like, Drew, I was just up there taking a shower, thinking about how smart you are and how emotionally intelligent you are and how thankful I am to be married to such an insightful husband. And
Yeah.
I was like, it's okay, I'll go get it. But I'm like, no, don't give me too much credit, because I'm still an idiot.
Exactly. Yeah, I get that too.
That's fine. You know what?
Yeah.
I'd rather be emotionally intelligent than, have all my wits about me.
Actually
Right?
intelligent.
Yeah, that's fine. None of us are all 10s.
That's all right. Yeah, exactly. We all have our gifts. So anyway, because of Rachel's prompting, I did get into a project. The weather made it an easy nudge. So, I've had this whole creek saga.
Oh, yeah.
With the culvert and all that kind of stuff. And I've been kind of torn. Well, for one, it's been too dang cold to do anything. So I just haven't messed around with it. And we've been really busy in birthday parties and all this kind of stuff. But it was like, hey, this weekend it was kind of open. Okay, cool. So once all the kids left on Saturday, I was like, oh, it is really nice outside. And I was like, you know what? I needed to go to the dump anyway because I had to take all our trash. I was like, I can swing by the store, get some lumber. I was like, I think instead of a culvert, I'm going to do a bridge. I was like, I just don't like having to worry about that culvert in that spot. So I had been thinking about it, planned it out, had the lumber all picked out, went to the store, got the lumber. Cool. So that was part of it. But then I also need to where the culvert was, I had dug up a bunch of stuff and, so there's loose stuff falling into the creek. So I have to prepare it all because I'm going to cover that up with a bridge. So I can't really work on it after there's a bridge there. So there's a lot of prep work I need to do before I put the bridge there. So I have ideas and I'm going to build a very solid bridge there. But that said, I also, Rachel needed to get her oil changed in her car, and then I needed to get an inspection done for my truck. So I had called last week to get all that arranged. And the mechanic that I go to, they give you a loaner car, which is awesome because I have a busy life, and that's great. I can drop off my car, get the loaner, and then that works well. So because I had two vehicles, it was like, all right, I'm going to get the loaner. And because it's Rachel's car, it's we're coordinating carpools and all this kind of stuff. So it's like, all right, Rachel, I'm going to bring the car, and then I'm going to bring it back. You take my car, and then I'll drive my truck, and then I'll trade the truck for her car out at the mechanic, and then I'll do the loaner back, and it'll all work out just fine. Except that I wasn't thinking about the project that I started. So I had a bed full of lumber in the back of my truck. So here I was, I thought I had pulled something. I had some, whatever it was that I was dealing with on Saturday after I ran all these errands. And then I was like, I have to go bring the truck to the mechanic. And I could have just left the lumber in the back, but it's very heavy. It's there's a lot of lumber there. And, it's lumber has value, and anybody could just take it out of the bed of the truck at the place. So I was like, I don't really want to just leave all this lumber just in the back of the truck at the mechanic. So I was like, all right, let me unload this. It'll take me 10 minutes. and I'll be done. So where I was trying to back the truck up was a little bit down a hill. And we've had a ton of rain recently, and I have gravel there, but I didn't aim it great because, I just judged, and I went into the grass a little bit and got my truck stuck. And I was like, dang it.
And you had somewhere to be.
And I had to bring the truck to the mechanic the next day. And so I was like, gosh darn.
I'm sure that's what you said.
So this was like, yeah. So I was like, okay, Rachel, this was going to be like a 10-minute thing right before dinner kind of a thing. And I was like, well, I've done this before. I know this whole project. So I'm going to go grab some snatch blocks because I need to winch this.
Snatch blocks.
Yes. I have a 6,000-pound F-250 that the thing is a beast, and it's not four-wheel drive, so I can't just plow the thing right out on its own. So I was like, I got to do some snatch blocks. So I have a winch. I put that on the back of my SUV, did a whole bunch, like 3-to-1 redirect, all this kind of stuff with the pulleys. And I had to get Rachel to help me actually like run the winch so that I could drive the truck up. But then I was able to get it out of there with the combination of the winch.
And you didn't need to use your tractor.
Didn't have to use a tractor.
All right.
I could have, but then it was like, Rachel doesn't really, she's not comfortable driving the truck or the tractor. So that's why I did the winch setup. It's like she can click a button,
Ellie would drive the truck.
Ellie would?
Absolutely she would.
She could probably. But, it was weird because it was like definitely like very sloped. It had a winch attached to it. Like it was a delicate situation.
Okay, it didn't just need some acceleration.
You're not, it's like it needed to be, It was delicate. But anyway, so yeah, science for the win. So I got the truck back up the hill. I did a 3-to-1 pull. So I have a 1,500-pound winch. That's how much it can pull. But I did a 3-to-1 pulley, which gives it 4,500 pounds of pull. Still, it's a 6,000-pound truck, and it was being pulled uphill. But it was enough juice that it could pull while I was, so my tire spun a little bit, but I was able to get enough traction where I was able to get it up the hill. So it still took me 2 hours to get it back up the hill. But I was like, as soon as it happened, I was like, this is my evening. And that's what happened. So that was my evening. All because of this. Now I'm like, this literally, like, I'm trying to do a culvert. Okay, no, I'm going to do a bridge instead. And I'm like, I just need to unload the wood. And there's 2 hours to get it back up the hill. And I'm just like, gosh, this is like,
it's one of those cases of like, I'm doing this to myself.
Why am I doing this? I could just never go across the creek and I would never have to do any of this.
Yeah.
But the things we get ourselves into. Mm-hmm. But anyway, it was fun and the weather was nice and I enjoyed it. So those are my adventures, more Brian outdoor adventures. Now I still have to build the bridge that hasn't happened. Now I just have a bunch of wood stacked there. So it should be fun though. The way I've designed the bridge, I don't have to make a single cut. I'm literally just joining wood together.
Nice.
So I think it's going to go pretty quick. But I also thought it was going to take me 10 minutes to unload my wood last night. So we'll see. I'll keep you all updated. And that's what I've been up to in my life. So company updates, we'll do that real quick and then we'll wrap it up. I have some fun facts. All right, company updates. We have a video out on pen superpowers.
We do.
With one yours truly, Drew Brown.
Aye.
So yeah, go check that out. And that's about it for company updates. New products, launching things. It's about it. Okay, so that's all we got this week. Let's wrap it up. Want to thank you all for watching. Please leave us some feedback. Let us know how we're doing. Ask us questions, etc. You can check out gouletpens.com for fountain pen, ink, and paper needs. And like and subscribe to all of our stuff. So I have some fun facts, Drew.
I would love facts.
I didn't go full
Make them fun.
I didn't go full deep dive, but I went whatever.
Whenever you even say I didn't go deep, like that's kind of a red flag for me. Because when you don't go deep, you don't say that you didn't go deep. So you saying that you went deep means that you went to the precipice of deep, which I still sometimes struggle with.
It's okay. I'll let you be the judge. So this happened because I was looking at the metals. I was researching the metals thing for the Lux question.
Yes.
And I was looking at different types of metals and stuff like that. And a lot of the precious metals, it's like rhodium, iridium, palladium, stuff like that. And I was like, these are all, these are like fountain pen terms. And I was like, what is kind of up with some of these metals? Like, what's the deal? And like, I know that
what is the deal with these metals?
And then there's like osmium and stuff like that. So it it was kind of interesting because I was like, okay, I know these are precious metals, but like, what's the deal? I was like, I don't actually know that much about rhodium. It was rhodium specifically that I was like, because I think about like rhodium plating.
We say that word a lot.
And I was like, I don't actually know all that much about it. So I was like, let me just see what's up with this. So I found a little rabbit hole, just kind of poked my head into a rabbit hole. Didn't fall down it, but just poked it in. So I just wanted to share this what I learned with you all. So rhodium and palladium were discovered around the year 1800 by William Hyde Wollaston when he was refining some platinum ore that he had purchased. So he bought like a big chunk of like very pure platinum, apparently, and was like refining it in his own little home setup. And he had this little like byproduct of this kind of like little red crystalline kind of a thing. And he was like, well, that's not platinum. That's kind of weird. Turns out it was rhodium, and he found a little bit of palladium too. So he kind of discovered that. Apparently, I don't know if this is like 100% fact verified here. So I try to find some sources, but again, this is not a full deep dive. So take it for what it's worth. But apparently rhodium is one of, if not the most expensive precious metals that you can get today. The price of rhodium is around $14,000 per ounce. Compare that to platinum, which is $959 per ounce. Palladium is $18.66 an ounce, or gold is around $17.83 per ounce. So it's almost 10 times the price of gold. So rhodium is expensive.
So when we say rhodium plated, is it really rhodium plated?
Yes, that's what I thought too. I was like, if it's so expensive, why is it on all these things?
Yeah.
So there are 6 precious metals, rhodium, that are all kind of in this precious metal category: rhodium, platinum, palladium, ruthenium, iridium, and osmium. And it's like, oh, a lot of those sound really familiar.
We've talked about osmium before.
Osmium is also quite rare. So I don't know about osmium. I didn't go down that rabbit hole. But a little bit about rhodium. So 80% of rhodium is used for catalytic converters, because it does a really good job with emissions cleaning.
Is that why those get stolen so often?
Yes. It's stolen for the precious metals that are in there, because it's so valuable. Isn't that crazy?
I think I knew that at one point, but I forgot.
Yep. So rhodium specifically is great at breaking down nitrous oxide molecules, which is a common thing in car emissions. It's also used a lot in jewelry and other metal plating. So rhodium itself is very, very hard. It's very difficult to work with, but it's very corrosion resistant. It is hypoallergenic, and it's very durable. So it's really, really good for metal plating. So I think that's why we see it on so many different pen parts. It's a very durable thing. It's not easy to work with, as if you were like, carving or doing like handwork, because it's just too hard. But it's apparently just really conducive to the plating process. So even though it's really expensive, I guess it's when you're plating, you're using so little of it.
Yeah,
because
I mean, like gold-plated stuff can be dirt cheap too.
Exactly. So I think that's part of why. Like rhodium definitely costs more than gold plating, but it's kind of thing like, because it can be plated so relatively thin, you're not using all that much material. Yeah. So I just thought that was kind of neat. That's it. That's all I dove into.
Okay.
But rhodium is
not
very
bad.
expensive, but it's, there's a lot that's common, especially like on the metal parts of pens, that are very common in both like the jewelry and the fountain pen world. Because it's, essentially fountain pens are just, different shape jewelry in a lot of ways. Yeah. So there you go. Learned a little bit about some precious metals. $14,000 an ounce for rhodium. That's crazy. An ounce. That's like one of your like coins that you carry around. That's like about an ounce. Jeez. So like one coin that size of rhodium would be 14 grand. Isn't that crazy? Nuts. So anyway, kind of cool. Hope you all enjoyed that. We are going to be taking next week off of the Pencast. We had some schedule conflicts and don't have the ability to do it, but we'll be back the following week. So hope this one will last you. If not, then go back from the beginning and watch all of them. I wonder how long that would take, actually. It would probably take you the entire week to watch.
Oh, I could tell you. Like we've got
it's like about 2 hours, right, per episode.
Oh yeah, our friend Natalie posts that in the comments almost every week about like the total Pencast lifetime.
There you go.
It's not every week, but she'll pop in there every now and then and give us an update.
I mean, it would be a lot. Like, What,
The
it's
fact
about
that you're
12
mentioning it now
episodes?
is probably going to guarantee that you'll add it.
I'm thinking now. We're doing the rough math. If it's about 2 hours per episode, which you average out.
It keeps getting longer, though.
Well, a lot of the earlier ones were not 2 hours, so I'm thinking about the life of it.
And then it became 2 hours. Now it's like 2 hours, 20 minutes
But
average.
2 hours, that's like, so 24 hours in a day, that's like 12 episodes for a full day of Pencast. We've done 100, this is 122.
Mm-hmm.
That's more than a full week's worth. Holy crap, that's insane.
Mm-hmm.
So you would have to watch, anyway, that's ridiculous. And we're making it longer by sitting here talking about it. So anyway, hope y'all have a great week. We'll see you, great 2 weeks. We'll see you, would it feel 2 weeks? Now I'm thinking about that. I don't know. Y'all figure out the math. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Right on.